Good evening. Hi, everybody. Let me just get my chat up properly. How's everybody doing? I need this window over here. And I'll put this over here. Alrighty. Long time no see. Oh, there's like a piece of, I'll fix it later. Is it? You don't know what I'm talking about right now, but there's like a little piece of something like on my other screen, and it's freaking me out. I'll have to fix it later. That's gonna bother me the whole time, but it would be too much trouble to fix it right now. I don't know how that happened. It was perfectly fine before. I think I might have moved it a little bit and something got jostled, and there it goes. But I'll try to ignore it. And hopefully it will be okay, but you never know with these things. Sometimes things like that bother me more than they really should, but we'll be an adult about it, and we'll deal with minor inconveniences like adults generally do. All right. Yeah, it's like a little bit. It's just. I'll try to deal with it. I will deal with it. Re-examination. Welcome back, Mark. If I don't see the ninja and the colorful hearts in the chat, one of these days I will be very upset, because now it's a pattern, and now that I'm used to it, you just have to keep doing it. Obligated from now on. But nice to see you also. Professor Hoodoo. Professor Hoodoo is impatient. I am also impatient in general. Baldness for... Oh, well, we do have a baldness, I guess, emoji that is appropriate today because of, I think Rex Jones, I think he happens to be bald. So that is fitting. Mark says, don't you find it interesting that you've been covering Wilson for long before him not having the debate of the decade? It's like you prophesied his becoming consequential. You were the first. Oh, I even got a medal. That's so cute. I guess so, kind of. I happened to see him, I think it was on the Whatever podcast, and I was going to mostly make content about the Whatever podcast at the time, like responding to random, like, weird stuff that most of the women there are saying that's kind of stupid, but also trying to be like balanced about it because it's very like heavily skewed in one way. So I was trying to do like a balanced react to the Whatever podcast. And then he kept coming on the podcast and he was just like always there. And then he kept like everywhere I turned as far as like, oh, I'll check out some debates and stuff. And like everywhere I would turn, this dude just kept like making content and doing like debates like every other day. It was ridiculous. Like everywhere I would turn, it's just this dude is just popping up. It's super weird. So I was like, okay, well, we deal with this guy now. So yeah, I have whenever I get focused on something, I get really focused on it. And I'm like, okay, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So there is quite a library that is very convenient to anytime I want to like pull clips to debunk something, I can just be like, go to my library and be like, find clips that I have of X, Y, and Z examples. And I have to, of course, sort through them, and not every single one I get back is like the right thing. So it does take time to sort through, but the availability of the content is very helpful for videos like that. And so once you have something like that, it seems kind of a waste to just have that and not do anything with it. So it kind of went from there. But what was really weird is like the moment that I was like, all right, I have this Kirk thing now that I'm focused on, and I really switched gears to refocus and like collect a whole new, I think my Kirk archive is way bigger than the Wilson one, by the way. It's like an actual archive of like all of the. There's just so much stuff, but now that I'm like refocusing and I've got this other research I'm doing that I'm way more interested in, of course, this freaking guy decides, oh, guess what I'm gonna do from now on? I'm gonna start doing this thing too. That is the exact thing that I decided to pivot to. So it was extremely annoying that like the minute that I pivoted to something else, he was like, oh, how about that TPUSA Kirk investigation stuff? And guess whose side he's on? Surprise, surprise. So it was kind of weird how that happened, but yeah, it's I guess since I have older videos on Wilson, and since a lot of people are just now finding out who he is, it might be worth like trying to share them and like link to them, at least like the ones that are sort of compilations, or like the more, I don't know if most people care about like really in-depth like debate stuff, but I have some compilations that I thought were pretty funny, and like the overall like debate tactics ones, I think I have like 2 of those or similar, and then like the overall force doctrine one I think is pretty useful, and then there's a few ones that have like some of the more egregious clips of him saying some crazy stuff, which he does all the time, honestly, so maybe it's not that unique. But yeah, I think it might be worth sharing around now that you mention it, since a lot of people are only now realizing like, wow, this is something, or rather somebody that is like pretty cringe. That's kind of entertaining how cringe he is. So yeah, probably a longer answer than you were hoping for. Rickdale, hello. I just don't think of the thing you're not supposed to think of. Well, now that you mention it, I'm thinking about it even more. But I bet that was your plan all along. Al, hello. Yeah, Captain. All right. I wonder if this scrolly thing. Okay. Oh, now it's covering my clear button. It's okay. I know where it is. I think I can deal with it. I'll try not to mention it again. It's gonna be one of those things like every stream there's a fluff in my thing somewhere, and it's gonna be one of those things that's sort of annoying, but you deal with, and I'll fix it next time. All right. So today, this was the Rex Jones. So I think it was last week, or maybe sometime last week-ish, I was wanting to cover this debate. So there was a round 1 at some point, and I don't remember if I think we might have covered round 1 when it happened too. I'm not sure if it was in full or in part, but there was a round 1 at some point of Rex Jones versus Andrew Wilson, and then this is a round 2 of Rex Jones versus Andrew Wilson. And I don't remember round 1 because I feel like it was quite a while ago. I remember kind of vaguely seeing it, but I don't know if we watched it together or if it's just something I happened to see on my own. I have to maybe look back and search for that. But focusing on the round 2 debate, so there are more than 2. So this is the second one. I was I happened upon it, and then I had to find it again. So I went on YouTube to search for it again, so that we could, play it and watch it together. And I just scrolled and found some interesting things. So I'll show you that in a minute. Let me do the link because I don't want to forget the link. I haven't been doing the links for like all the other Discord channels lately because I don't know how much it really helps, and it kind of takes a lot of time from the live streams. But if there's anybody out there that generally isn't too busy around the time that we do live streams and would like to volunteer to share the link to the live stream in other Discord channels on their like self-promotion or like whatever, usually other channels will have a not channels, usually other Discord servers will have a channel name that's sort of like self-promotion or something like that. So if people do have time, and if anybody wants to volunteer to do such a thing, like when I go live, if you do want to share in other channels, that'd be cool. But I feel like for the amount of time that I spend doing it during a live stream, it might not be as much of a payoff. So I'd rather not take time away from you guys to go and like start, I'm gonna do the links now, so I've started not doing that. But at least want to do like the one that's like our server, and I think X is the one I'm going to do. Just those two. And then other ones are going to be like if somebody wants to help me share optionally, I'd appreciate it, but if not, that's cool too. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at, I think. And why is this like oh, that's weird. I'll do it this way. That should be good. That should be good. Oh, and also something else that we'll cover. I think we'll cover this first because it's the shortest thing, so we can sort of knock it out and move on to the main debate. So obviously, if you live on planet Earth, you probably heard, but it looks like the debate between Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson is happening. So apparently, so that's good. Apparently, he sent her the money, which is good. Except everybody else is now screeching that, oh, she should donate it. I don't think so. She has children too. Her children also could use the money for their college. Why do they have to go to somebody else's kids that already have like more money than they can even like imagine? So I definitely am against her doing that. But of course, it's her money to do with as she wants to. And if she wants to donate it, she can. But I certainly don't think that she should be pressured into doing so. And there is a whole like pressure campaign going on about, well, she got the money, now she has to donate it. Excuse me. I don't think so. But that's just my opinion. So, okay, this is probably good enough. No, I guess I can finish this one. This is X Jones versus Andrew Wilson debate. Okay, that should work. So, anyway, so the debate apparently is Friday. I'm not sure what time it is. It probably would be earlier during the day, considering she's like a regular mom with kids and stuff. So, I probably won't be able to do the review during the day, but that night we will be doing a live stream and we'll review it. So, starting around like the usual time that we do live streams. I wish I could do it like live as it streams. There have been other times where I've wanted to do something like covered as it streams live, but I mean, assuming it even streams live, I sort of am assuming that, but I guess I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that they're gonna like record it. I assume they're gonna stream it. Anyway, so Wilson, you know how last stream I was saying like, well, it was at first Brian's money and he put up some money and he wanted to do it like on his show. And then Andrew put up additional money, I suppose. And then he kept like bumping it. And then like once he sort of figured out that there wasn't going to be traction on it, he kept like bumping up the price to like, I guess, play rich and, like he's a big fish. And he failed to mention that like, Brian is also supposed to be a part of that. And he was like, oh, we're like Nebulous. We giving out this money that is, most people would assume like him and his team, not necessarily like him and a whole another channel and a whole another creator. So he sort of dropped the Brian part from every time he wanted to, strut around and act like he's, throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at this thing because he just has all this cash to spare. So he was strutting around, and exactly as I predicted, he doesn't have the money because he was counting on the Brian thing, and then he quietly dropped Brian, which obviously means Brian's not going to be part of it if you don't include the person in your whole like advertising and in your challenges and the stipulation that it has to be on the whatever podcast, or he at least has to go. And I think Brian would have probably traveled to Candace's house to moderate it. He probably would have done that if he was asked. But like, I don't know who did it first, but it seems like Andrew sort of dropped Brian from the thing entirely as far as discussing it publicly, at least. And so when he's going around offering this money, that's, has to come from Wilson, obviously, or somebody else that would have to give it to him. So exactly as I predicted, he's going around now and one, crying about it, two, acting like, poor him, he just has to go and do this debate, even though he was begging for it for like a month at least or something. Acting like poor Wilson, he's just going out there and taking one for the team, even though he really doesn't want to, and people should donate to him to cover his costs, and how he's just like their champion, and he just had to do this for the people, and all this super cringe stuff that ignores completely the however weeks or month long thing he was going on about how he was basically begging her to notice him and to debate him, and now he's like shying away the second it starts to go down. Yeah, it's what's interesting about this debate that's unusual from most debates that he takes is usually the debates that he takes, he can, as far as the topics go, the topics are usually done in a way where he can introduce some sort of like philosophical thing that like even he doesn't know too much about, and he can toss in a bunch of with that introduction, he counts on other people also not knowing philosophy very well, and he can toss in a bunch of logical fallacies in there with it, and people don't really notice because they're not really clear themselves on what all this means, and he'll just say it really confidently, and it works for him as far as a lot of people are concerned. And what's different here is this is a specific case with specific evidence or lack thereof, and quite frankly evidence pointing in the opposite direction too. So this is different. I know he's like, oh, a big debate boss person, and he acts like it, but I think he is starting to realize that, hey, this is a little different, and Candace really knows her stuff. She seems like she's not going to take shit. Anyway, so now he has come out with this like video where he's like, I wonder if I have it on here. That would be really great.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Something like that. It's basically like that. That is Andrew Wilson right there. Let me pull it up. Okay. Let me grab, let me do this tab first so that we can pull up that video first. Because that is, it's, yeah. I haven't seen the full thing. I sort of clicked through it and looked at it, and it looked very sad. So I thought we would watch it together and laugh along. If you welcome back. I usually found your videos through your debate tactics sections on Gymnub. And Andrew Wilson, they were very well done. Definitely worth watching. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Professor Hoodoo says this is so on topic considering what the world is offering today, which is a million people watching this. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that it is sort of like there is a debate coming up, and you can kind of see how he debates in general. And something else, how I was talking about the topic situation, and I was going with that. So usually you can take the topic into like this philosophical abstract place where, as far as philosophy is concerned, there is a point that you get to where if you ask enough questions about very obvious things, everybody's sort of stumped eventually, because if there were really good, obvious, clean answers to the deepest philosophical questions, it wouldn't be like a field of study. It would just be common sense, and everybody would sort of agree and move on. We wouldn't have religion. We wouldn't have any sort of disagreements on like the deeper questions of life. But because of the nature of the topic, he's sort of able to navigate the debates towards that in that direction, and by asking really basic questions, like how children, when if you could just be sitting there and a child will come up to you and they're like, why does this work this way, and then they'll keep like nesting the questions, like why why is the sky blue, and then you'd be like, well, because atmosphere, etc., and they'll be like, well, why is that, well, why is that, well, why is that, and eventually you're like, well, I don't know, it's just the way it is. He does the same thing. He does the exact same thing as children do when they do this like infinite why question. It's basically like that, but he like acts all confident about it instead of, Anyway, So, because the topic is usually in a way that he could take it in that direction, he tends to win in the eyes of the people who really like don't know what the topic is, and they sort of see the confidence and they're like, yeah, you tell them. And because he sort of says some of the things that they agree with politically. But when it comes down to like really actual policy stuff, or like what's going on in the world and what isn't going in the world, specifically like with this Iran war stuff, which is what some of the topics of today's debate are, this Rex Jones debate is actually a good indicator of kind of how he might do with Candace, except Candace is going to be like way worse. Like he's not, it's going to be so embarrassing, and he's already sort of hedging it. Like the way that he's tweeting now is way less confident. He's like, his wife is also coming out to like, oh, you know, he's such a good debater no matter what happens. It's they sound extremely insecure lately. Like as soon as they realized this debate was going down, it's not looking good for them, and I think they're realizing it. And with this, I think how this like Rex Jones thing is about like real Iran war stuff, he doesn't do very well. I listened to it in my headphones the other day, and I think maybe it was last week sometime or whenever it was that I first mentioned it, and I was like, oh wow, he got a beat down from this kid. Just because his position is so bad and he can't really take it into this. He tried to pull into this philosophical level a few times, but like he couldn't do it because you know, the kid was on top of it. And I think it's going to be like that with Candace, but even worse for him, because like what philosophical thing are you going to pull into there? Like, oh, you know, should people do something with court, like, you know, what's really right and what's really wrong, and you know, do you think it's right to do X, Y, and Z and define good? You know, like, well, what is he gonna do? You can't really. There isn't a good way to do that without looking like really obvious about it, and I don't think she would take, you know, crap like that from him. So yeah. All that being said, let me pull this video up here. So he went and let me do this one. Oh, there we go. That's pretty much good already. Shrink it a little bit like so. Okay, so this is the one that's the oh, sorry, Mr. Food Chats. I live on planet Earth. Woohoo! Says Rick now. Yeah, don't yeah. So there is a whole movement going on, starting, I don't know if it was starting with, but including at least Michael Knowles, who is like the godfather of her kids. It's kind of fucked up that he's even like suggesting this, that, you know, the money should be donated to like Kirk kids. And they have like way more money than they know what to do with. And, you know, Candace has kids too. So why don't we, you know, let her have it and she can spend it on her kids? Do her kids not matter? Like, why? I just think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous ask. Mark says, I wonder how she feels taking the money knowing that it's from TPUSA. I think probably pretty good, because, you know, TPUSA, if the money is from them, which of course we don't know for a fact, but a lot of people do suspect that, if the money is from them, I think it probably feels pretty good for her, because of everything that they have basically waged a war against her. And, you know, the way that it's looking, I don't know what their role is in the Kirk case and, you know, why he's not here with us anymore. But at the very least, they have been very gross about it. I mean, they have basically trampled over his whole legacy with, and even setting aside the whole, like, putting his AI voice and using it for ad reads, allegedly probably doing some like AI manipulation on the whole like, I appoint my wife to, you know, all that, basically using him as a cash grab and then, you know, projecting that on other people and accusing them of doing that. The list goes on and on and on. But, you know, not least of all is even having Erica be the CEO, which is like everything he stood against. So as far as TPUSA goes, they have been trampling like all over Charlie Kirk ever since he died. So, you know, if she can take money from them indirectly or whatever, potentially, allegedly, whatever, I think that's great. And if that's, where she thinks the money's coming from, that's got to feel pretty good. So at least, like, not that it's like, oh, I love money. Like, she has plenty of her own cash, but like, having them lose something or like give something up, like how far would they go to fight her on this? That's got to feel pretty good. I think Candace should hire 30 up and coming podcasts like yours at 10,000 each to help investigate and research your questions. Oh, that'd be so cool. But yeah, I'm sure she's already got her research team and everything. So, and plus, like, she can, what's kind of smart about her way is she can basically take what other people find on Twitter for free and not have to pay anybody to do it. And even like calling out other podcasts, if she was like, oh, hey, definitely whatever, found this in her video, check it out, I'd be happy. Like, I don't need the money. I mean, everybody could use my money, but like, I don't need her to like pay me specifically. I would just take a shout out. He's already trying to redefine what the subject matter will be. It's up to him to prove Tyler's guilt. Yeah, he also wanted to like decide in public, like do all the like negotiations of the details in public, and then started crying about it after it was settled. The whole thing was so pathetic. That's like a whole story on its own. It's sad. And it seems like it's still ongoing. So, as a sad idea, she could have an army. I think she kind of already does have an army. The thing is, like, I don't really, like, I like Candace, okay, but there is a lot I disagree with her on. So, like, if she does come across like some research that I have, she's welcome to use it. And if she does a shout out, that's great. But I don't know if like working for her would be something I would really want to do. Like, I've got my own thing, but it's nice of you to, think that, Professor. Hello, Minar. I don't know what you mean stop by. I don't do stop by, but I don't even know what you exactly disagree with. We haven't said anything yet. That would be disagree. Like, everything was just like, hey, here's what happened. I don't know what you can disagree with, but hi. All right, so let's play this video and see what he says. So right away, it's very like, oh, the dark background. And by the way, you'll notice this in the Rex Jones thing too. And I didn't notice it when I first watched it because I wasn't watching it. I was just listening to it in my headphones, so I just heard it. But even in the other one, he's got like his hat and it's all dark and you can like barely see his face. At least here you can see his face. So that's different. And he's very like, professional looking, but in like the dark background is very like ominous. And he's, is it just me, or is he like, I keep wanting to like, you know when you like tilt, something is off. I can't pinpoint it, but something is like tilty about this. Anyway, could just be me.
Let me give everyone an update of exactly where we are. A few weeks ago, Brian
Let me know if you can hear it okay, by the way. And you're trying to be very serious with that face. Indeed.
a friend of mine who runs the Whatever podcast, offered up $100,000 for Candace Owens to debate with me about the murder of Charlie Kirk on his platform. He eventually raised it.
Is it a bit low? Let me see. I think it's this one. Let's see if that helps. It is a bit low for me too.
$150,000, to which I said I would match it if we could actually debate on neutral ground. I expressed this story recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. Candace and her fans' reactions were volatile, to say the least.
Yeah, I do think it's even maxed out. It still seems a little bit low, which is unusual. Because usually I'm the one that's low.
Issued a strange counter that I needed to pay her $500,000, and that TPUSA needed to quote.
Is it still low? You know what? Let me pull it up another, because I don't know what is up with this. It's very weird. Because usually it's me, and it's weird that it's not me this time. So I do have it locally. Let me pull it up. We'll just do it in VLC. We'll do it live. I have it here. What's this called? Crowdfunding. Oh, here it is. Oh, there we go. Me to this one, and this one, and it's gonna be this one.
Let me give everyone.
Yeah, because this one I should be able to bump up beyond its normal volume, which should help a little bit. There we go. See if that helps. So excited you're watching this. It's very short, so we should be able to cover it very quickly. He's a bit like that Marx guy. He does kind of look similar, although he's way less like buff. Like, I think that Marx guy at least seems like he could like hold his own in a fight. But Wilson would just, I imagine if like any sort of physical fighting ever happens to this man, he would just sort of flop over and flail around. Like that's kind of how I imagine it. But you know, that's just my opinion. So, let's see if this helps a little bit.
On an update of exactly where we are. A few weeks ago, Brian Atlas, a friend of mine who runs the Whatever podcast, offered up $100,000 for Candace Owens to debate with me about the murder of Charlie Kirk on his platform. He eventually raised it to $150,000, to which I said I would match it if we could actually debate on neutral ground. I expressed this story recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. Candace and her fans' reactions were volatile, to say the least. She issued a strange counter that I needed to pay her $500,000 and that TPUSA needed to, quote, claim me. Now, I don't work for TPUSA, so I couldn't grant that concession, as it would have been a lie. She followed with an offer of me paying $300,000 to debate her at her...
Whoa, okay. Wait a minute.
Let me give everyone an update of exactly where we are. A few weeks ago, Brian Atlas, a friend of mine who runs the Whatever podcast, offered up...
Okay, so it has only been a few weeks. It feels like it's been longer for some reason. I thought it was months, but okay.
Up $100,000 for Candace Owens to debate with me.
And it didn't, I don't think it started with $100,000. I think he said like 50K or something, then bumped it to 80. And then Wilson was like, okay, I'll match 80. So there's a little bit of context that he's not
about
telling.
The murder of Charlie Kirk on his platform. He eventually raised it to $150,000, to which I said I would match it if we could actually debate on...
Yeah, I think he raised it to 80, and then he said he would match 80, and then it went up from there. So I guess he kept going after that, and okay, I mean, it's fine if he skipped a few steps because it's supposed to be a short video.
Ground. I expressed this story recently on the Joe Rogan podcast.
He has to... Every time he goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, he loves to sort of pepper it into other conversations that don't really have anything to do with it. That like, oh, by the way, I was on Joe Rogan. Oh, by the way, I was on Joe Rogan. By the way, did you know I went on Joe Rogan? It's like humble bragging all over the place. Like and what I mean, I don't mean like every time. He's only been there twice total now, but like the first time he went on Joe Rogan, he was doing the same thing.
Candace and her fans' reactions were volatile, to say the least.
Oh my God, what a big baby. Oh, they're volatile. They were so volatile. He has the most vile, angry, disgusting fans that I have ever had experienced. Not everybody. There are some that are like somewhat normal, just misguided, but there are quite a few of them that follow this man because he, well, cusses out women. That's kind of what he does. And the sort of audience you attract doing that, a lot of them aren't going to be, you know, the best people. And it shows because a lot of them act very vile and disgusting towards other people as well, especially anybody that happens to disagree with Wilson. So him calling other people's audiences vile or whatever, to say the least, is what do they say about, throwing stones out of glass houses? It's something like that, but, ickier. It's good that it's better, because I can't go up any higher. I would have to like edit it and like bump it. Another channel already offered to box with Andrew. Oh, no way. There's no way he's accepting that. There's no way. Joe Rogan said, Smoky Man credible. And whatever Joe Rogan says, that's, gospel now, I guess. Mommy, the Candace fans were mean to me. That's a pretty good description of how this is going so far.
She issued a strange counter that I needed to pay her $500,000 and that TPUSA needed to, quote, claim me.
And that was because she was like, well, if TPUSA is funding the money, they can afford more than that. And I think it would have been, it was probably one of those, what I mentioned before is I suspect that was kind of like, asking a lot and then you negotiate down from there to whatever you would really accept. So it's, I think Trump has a word for this too. Is it like the big ask or something? A common thing in negotiating in general. I think it was probably something like that. But it would have been great if they did, officially own him. But very little chance of that. I'll be a little charitable. He does disavow the extreme bunch, but I believe it's in the same way Trump disavowed the Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. Says few welcomed. Andrew is a potty mouth. Potty mouth indeed.
Now, I don't work for TPUSA, so I couldn't grant that concession, as it would have been a lie.
Sure, maybe not currently, but you have taken money from them previously, so it's not like such a stretch to, presume that.
She followed with an offer of me paying $300,000 to debate her at her home on the
Okay, this whole she followed with an offer. This makes it seem like this was her idea. Even though we did have some info in the beginning where he was like, okay, well, we offered to do this, we offered to do that. But then now that he was like, well, she wanted all of this money, and then she followed up with a different offer, and she wanted $300,000. And what he so far failed to mention was that was his original offer. He was literally going around all of the internet and screeching about how he's offering $300K to debate her. So, now that he sort of got caught and his bluff got called, he was like, oh no, please donate to me. I gave her the money that I don't have.
topic of if Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk and if he was a federal patsy or not. Obviously, this gives massive advantages to Owens.
What? If you think your evidence is so overwhelming, you literally have the government on your side. You have what is it about force doctrine? About, whoever is on the side of the force, they get, their way or whatever. He has like all of the power and resources and whatever of the government at, not necessarily at his disposal, but on his side at least. Like, he is on the side of the people that have all the power. So what is this, like, acting like a, poor little orphan that got caught in the crossfire? Like, what is this? This is so cringe. If the evidence is so overwhelming, why not just be like, hey, look at all this evidence that the government came up with. Look at what the government was able to find with all of their resources and all of their force and all of their money and all of their everything. Look at what they came up with. It's so overwhelming. If that's true, as he's been claiming, it should be easy peasy lemon squeezy for him. I don't know. What is this like? Oh, she's got the advantage. This goes right in line with like all the other tweets and all the other crap that he's like, as soon as it sounded like, okay, this is really going to happen now, he started like hedging it. Like, oh, well, poor little, I'm at a disadvantage here, even though like, no, he's not. The only thing that she wanted was the original offer, you originally offered her the $300K, and she wanted to do it at her house, which I think makes sense. Like, she's a pregnant little lady, like, whatever. And you get more people, like, he gets to bring more people to her house than she has her own people. They get to, he got to pick the moderator, who has also called Candace out. So the moderator is already on his side. He gets his people in the control room with her people. They get to, send them, evidence, videos, clips, whatever, ahead of time, so they don't have to search for them on the spot, but we'll also search for them on the spot. Like, he got accommodated in every possible way and more. So this whole, like, oh, poor little me, I'm at such a disadvantage, I think he's expecting to lose. Because if he wasn't expecting to lose, he wouldn't be like, oh, I'm such a disadvantage, and poor me, they've got all this stuff and I don't have all this stuff, but whatever stuff that is, because it's like super vague, obviously, because he really isn't at any disadvantage. But he keeps complaining about these, like, perceived disadvantages that he apparently has that are certainly not real. So I think if he was more confident than that, he would act more confident than that. And how little confidence he's, exuding is very telling, I think. Professor says he taught all the new Charlies at TPUSA to be potty mouths too. I would not be surprised. I mean, what else is he going to teach them? Yeah, just keep asking them questions until they get confused, and then, call them some naughty potty mouth words. How could she ask me for money? Sounds like she's pretty unserious, guys. Probably not even worth debating. Basically. Mark David said, another Freemason, all fake and gay. I don't know if a lot of you probably weren't following me when I first started doing this, but I think it was sometime last winter when I still had, like, the winter, like, snow thing that was kind of annoying over my stream going. There's a clip somewhere that I have of Wilson, like, admitting that, not admitting, but, like, sort of matter of fact discussing how, if not for makeup and all these procedures, if you just compare, like, natural men to natural women, men are the fairer, the more fair sex is, and, like, better looking. Like, he thinks that men are better looking than women if you compare, like, without makeup or without procedures, cosmetic, etc. If you, like, take a natural man and natural woman, the men are generally better looking, in his opinion. So it might be closer to truth than you intended. Again, I'm not alleging anything, but that is something he said. I should get that clip too, because that would be a good clip to play for, like, one of the intermission ones. I still haven't had time to do that, but at least I got some of the memes down. I still haven't organized them properly, but at least they play now, which is good. I really like some of them, and I just, like, press all the buttons, but that would be silly.
But I'm never one to back down from a debate challenge, even if I think the term...
What do you mean? He's not a debate challenge? You were the one that challenged her. What is he on? Is he on crack? Like, what is going on? Bro, lay off the crack. What are you talking about? He was begging for her to debate him, and now he's like, I'm not gonna back down from a challenge, so... What? Bro, come on. What is this? But Andrew was paid by TPUSA the same way they pay landscapers, so it doesn't count. I have seen so many comments exactly like that. Probably something he said on stream too, because, like, whatever he says on stream, people will like parrot. And yeah, I have seen that so many times. I'm like, how is that comparable at all? Andrew explained Ford's doctrine to the Bushes, and they trimmed themselves. Swear to God, oh, that would be something. He is special that way, magical. Mark says Barron calls him Smoke Boy. With that moniker, he's already lost, right? I don't know. He's got this whole, like, whenever people point out that he smokes like a chimney, he's got this whole thing like, "Oh, smoky man bad," and he does this like voice and thing with it. It's super cringe. So he's like masterfully turned any sort of criticisms or people point out like, hey, that's kind of icky, to like, oh, you think it's icky, oh, you think it's icky, like all of these that is kind of what he tends to do with anything that sort of works against him. He'll turn it into like a mimicry with the voice of whoever's supposedly criticizing him to make them sound like, oh, they're just stupid, like with a voice thing. He's Master Mason. I don't know about that. I don't know. Do they take just anybody? I feel like to be a Mason you have to like be high up in some way, like not just like random. I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to be too mean because like he's already feeling bad for himself. I don't want to be too mean. Let's not be too mean, you guys, because look, he's suffering clearly. I mean, look at him. He is suffering here. So we gotta give him some grace here. He's really struggling with his decisions, and man, it's rough out there. What do you mean? Yes, Streamlabs, that is correct. Like the stream, please. Or no, dislike. I mean, whatever you want. Whatever you think is appropriate.
Are fundamentally unfair. We entered into negotiations, and during those negotiations, Joe Rogan contacted us both, asking to host our debate. This is perhaps something you guys don't know.
Okay, there were a lot of parts of the negotiation that you demanded be done in public that, could be mentioned, but aren't. So why pick that one?
Obviously, I thought that changed everything, as that would guarantee the biggest platform for both of us to make our...
Okay, so this is what it's about. He wants the biggest platform to get his name out there, to get more followers. He must be feeling, stagnating at wherever he's at. Like he's been, around the same level for however long. He must be feeling a little stagnant. So now he needs the biggest platform. Candace's platform apparently isn't big enough for him now. He needs the Joe Rogan one. And how dare anybody say thanks but no thanks to Joe Rogan? Oh my goodness. That's like, wow. We can do voices too. Professor Huda says, what is the best way to share this podcast? I guess you could link to it wherever it is that you normally share things. There is like a share button, whatever, like the standard way that YouTube does it, or the URL, or whatever you like, whatever parts or whatever videos you like best are probably the best way to be like, hey, I saw this and it was super dope. Or however it is that people nowadays express things that they like. That sounded very alien and robotic of me. Sorry. It does us in one clip. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Hack them Times Squares. The way TPUSA paid landscapers considering the crime scene makeover, it's starting to sound like an admission that they paid him for the cover up as well. That's a good point, because it was technically it's not like landscapers. It was some kind of like paver thing, which I don't know if that's. Because that's got to be like different job technically, but I think you're onto something there. Master debater. One big pun. Hey Chicky, this is not my wheelhouse listening to this clown, but love your thoughts later when you have a real topic. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's cool if this is not everybody's cup of tea. Some people are like, oh, this is so icky. It's entertaining, and some people are like, oh, this is so icky, I can't watch it. I totally understand. But, I'll be here at a later time. He was on Joe Rogan, and he will never let anyone forget. And Todd TP was how to debate, so Candace ain't shit to him now. Well, he already got the attention. Going through the debate doesn't really do much for him, except, he's gonna look bad. He wanted the attention, he got the attention, and now he couldn't find a way to weasel out of it, so.
Case on neutral ground. Unsurprisingly to me, Candace Owens declined. No control, you see.
Or she doesn't want to travel while pregnant, and one of her best friends got killed recently, and people have been threatening her. Maybe she just doesn't want to travel. Has he considered that? I don't know. It seems like something that he could have considered, but no, it's like a control thing. It's got to be a control thing. Of course. Of course.
She insisted it be...
Ooh. Mark says, thank you with a $10 donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is always nice to get some monies. It is much appreciated. Did I say appreciated? Very appreciated. Thank you so much. Oh, I missed a few here. Rogan is faking it because he's a Mason as well, so obviously. Okay, well, if you guys have it all figured out here, you don't need me. I mean, as far as being a Mason and having to be up there in status, at least Rogan fits the bill. I don't think Wilson does. I think you have to be somebody to be a Mason. That's kind of how I see it. See you at another time, One Big Pond. Except for Tim. Yes. W's for Mark. Was he on Joe Rogan? LOL. Don't even start with that. Canned Ass is a Mason as well as Charlie Shekels, says Mark David. At least Candace has the status to be one, so I guess that's a possibility in her case at least. And Charlie also had the status. So yeah, I mean, I don't know who is and who isn't, but I know that you have to have some sort of status, and at least to have the status for it.
At her home still, even after Rogan said he would come in on his off day to do the debate, and I would still give her the $300,000.
Okay, so she doesn't want to travel. She had one thing that she requested is she doesn't want to travel, and she gave you everything else that you wanted, and including things that you offered, which you offered the $300K. She accepted it, even though at first she was like, I want the higher amount. She accepted all of your requests, including the $300K. The only thing she asked for is that it has to be at her place. That's the one thing. So what is this playing victim here? This is so cringe.
You would think if she was actually trying to change the minds of normies and reach a new audience, that's where she would go, but sadly, no. I
don't think Joe Rogan can really be... I think he used to be that. He used to be able to say that, yeah, Joe Rogan is sort of in the middle and both sides listen to him, and if you want to reach, whoever's on the political side that you don't normally reach, he would be a good place to go. But I don't think that really applies anymore. Not as of maybe 4 years ago that was true, but certainly not this past year, maybe not even the year before that. Ever since, I think it was since before even Trump got elected, he started drifting in one direction, and I don't think he has a ton of normie viewers anymore. But I don't know if it's because his audience, it's not like it's shrunk, but I don't know if it's because there's more people that have been either, I don't want to say radicalized because that's a little strong, but I don't think it's less people watching overall. I think it's maybe because the people that were more left probably stopped watching, but then there were people that were more right that used to not watch that started watching, and then it's possible that there's also more people that used to be normies that have started being more political, and therefore the category doesn't really fit anymore, in my opinion. But I don't have the stats to support that. It's sort of, vibes that I get. Joe gets 400,000 a show. Really? I mean, I guess that's not too surprising. It is a very big show.
After many rounds of negotiations and a new moderator stepping
All because of you. She was willing to accept basically anything, and Wilson was the one that kept spinning his wheels and trying to weasel out of it. That's how I see it.
in, who assures us it'll be fair, we came to an agreement. I went ahead and sent the $300,000, and it has been confirmed by her staff and to us that it has been sent.
Okay, you could have just, like, that was a very lengthy way of saying that, but okay.
I am going to clear the air on a few things. I wasn't some Charlie Kirk fanboy. In fact,
Okay, we know that.
I had my and still have my disagreements with him. But I always thought TPUSA did way more good than it did harm to the conservative movement.
I love how he's basically quoting a tweet that somebody found at some point and sort of tossed back in his face, like, you know, so you think they did harm? And he's kind of, you know, doubling up here. Or doubling down. I don't know what doubling up means. Doubling down here when he's basically like quoting that and explaining away like, oh, you know, if you see this tweet, this is what it means. Stop traffic in my Rasta hat. That is a very long username. I like your vibes. I like your vibes. Maybe. I mean, I assume so. If you like my vibes, I like your vibes. That's probably how this works. Thank you so much. Welcome. Fielcom said he's had some dog shit takes recently, notably the Epstein files, Iran war, and all this. I think some of his fan base got turned off by that. I agree. And we'll have some, I guess, Exhibit B here shortly with the Iran war, and Exhibit C with the Epstein stuff is also part of the conversation, which I have an interesting little blurb about that part of the conversation that has to do with what was and wasn't published. That's also related to the title, but we'll get there in a minute. Let's see if we can speed this up a little bit, because he's very, like, solemnly talking very seriously and slowly here. We'll see if we can speed it up a little bit.
Forget the series of TikTok invasions I did post Charlie's death, only to watch the lunatic left laughing and mocking and having the time of their life.
Okay, so he's still doing this hedging thing. Like, okay, even if I lose, remember I was the good guy. I defended Charlie. You know, I was doing all this stuff for you, and see how I was basically your knight in shining armor, defending Charlie, and, you know, putting down the left. So whenever you see me lose, don't forget that.
Lives watching the spiral of chaos that came after. It was enraging.
And he made so much money from that. So as far as, like, calling anybody else out for being, or, like, even remotely benefiting, he made so much money off of that.
To say the least. I know I'm not a very nice man.
Oh, really? Wow. I don't think we've noticed. Wow, you don't say. Not very nice. Wow.
I get that. But I am a very kind man.
Allegedly.
I lamented many times to my wife how god-awful the family and friends of Charlie must feel about what happened to him after he died.
Okay.
Trying to find some new normal under intense media scrutiny, balancing duty and obligation with
Okay, now that this turned from, like, feel sorry for me to feel sorry for them and feel sorry for both of us together. Like,
remorse, regret, and overwhelming sadness. My stated objective for my platform, The Crucible, has been unwavering, and I've never strayed from its goal. Destroy the left. Take them on everywhere on their own turf, outside their turf, at their events, in their safe spaces, challenge them everywhere and destroy their ideas. Be unrelenting, never stop, and not one step back.
okay, that I still have to do a video on that. How, like, the not one step back is like a communist slogan during World War II, related to you know, the Nazi invasion or something, and they're like, oh, you know, not one step back, keep pushing forward, and it's related. It's literally a communist propaganda slogan. So it's interesting that he's using it. But yeah, I still haven't done a video on that. I've been so busy with the other research.
This woman, Candace, has been terrorizing both the widow.
This woman, Candace, like, she sounds like random lady.
Charlie Kirk and the organization.
She's been terrorizing. I mean, come on. Calling out somebody for lying is hardly terrorizing. If you don't want to be called out for lying, 1, don't lie. 2, quit jumping in front of every single camera. Even if she was a big fat liar, it would be fine if she just, like, went off on her own and grieved with her cash. Like, if she wasn't trying to, you know, be influential and famous and whatever, nobody would even call her out for that. Like she would just be a liar all on her own, and nobody would care. But when people try to be influential and try to influence other people, as influential people do, that tends to happen is they get called out for their lies and stuff like that. So calling it terrorizing is an interesting choice. He's not happy because he can't smoke. It's probably part of it. I've seen him do whatever podcasts though, where he would, like, while he's there, he would go smoke on the balcony, but even that wasn't enough. He had to like constantly. It looks like he was doing like a Zyn, like, or whatever, that when those like nicotine, you put it in your mouth and it's like a nicotine gum or something similar. So like even like going out once in a while to smoke isn't enough. He has to be like constantly chewing the nicotine. Allegedly, that's how it looked to me anyway. That is a fantastic name. Oh no, you're not. Widow. Wait, I have one. I gotta get used to these buttons. Smoky Man underappreciated. Oh no. Oh, my scrolly thing isn't working. Oh good, the masked communist making a video about a communist slogan. See, very appropriate. Don't you ever call me a commie again. It's like he's reading the ending credits to a movie in which his character doesn't make it to the sequel. That is very accurate. I see that. I see the vision there. You're a commie? No. God, no. Lavender marriage is pretending you're straight when you're gay all day. All gay, even Charlie. According to Mark, I don't allege one way or another. Honestly, I don't think he was. I don't honestly believe that, because it seemed like he was just kind of awkward and didn't really know how to talk to women. And so when one showed interest, he like jumped on it. That's sort of how it looks to me. I don't think he was swinging the other way necessarily. Hello, Naz. Welcome back. All right. Let us resume this.
Behind. Its obvious or stated goal is to destroy the largest conservative college and high school outreach program currently in existence.
They're destroying themselves. They don't need help.
I disagree with a lot of TPUSA ideas. I do. I would rather try to change them, though.
Because you're so influential. Okay, yeah, we get it. He keeps doing that, like, oh, I went to TPUSA, I gave her a big hug, and I told her what they're doing wrong, and my wife went and talked to Integral Bed and told them what they're doing wrong, and how it's feminist this and feminist that, and we taught their debaters, and so you don't work for them, but you're gonna change how it works.
Then burn down the only organization in my lifetime to really get a foothold.
Burn down. That's very extreme.
In academia, the thing conservatives have wanted for 60 years. In the following weeks, I will be relentlessly attacked.
The thing that conservatives wanted for 60 years is falling apart because of the current CEO. Like, they really don't need help. This is just such cope.
Candace Owens' cult for daring to put their leadership.
Oh, him. No. This man calling another, I guess, what do you call it? A creator and fan base combination a cult is, that's special. That's very special. No, wait, what is it on silent? It should be on silent. Anyway.
Question, and for daring to question the questioners. I accept that as a side effect of challenging what has become a powerful industry.
This question the questioners slogan is but it's been catchy, but it doesn't really make that much sense. Instead of questioning the questioners, why don't you just like answer the questions? Have they thought about doing that?
Of conspiracy peddling true crime nonsense.
Okay, a lot of true crime isn't nonsense. It has the word true in it. Not that necessarily means it's true, but a lot of true crime, even like, especially I think YouTubers, a lot of them do very diligent research into their cases, and I don't really suspect most of them of being like dishonest or anything. So I don't know what this is like supposed to make it seem fake because it's true crime adjacent or something. I don't really get that.
Which has a sycophantic and cult-like following.
Okay, I said something earlier about like throwing stones out of glass houses. Who else do we know of that has a very sycophantic and cult-like following? I'll give you one guess. Здравствуйте.
They have been at it for days, going through everything they can possibly dig up about me to hurt me, as there is multitudes of millions of dollars on the line for these creators, and they will stop at nothing to protect their interests, regardless of the lives they destroy along the way.
Lives that, okay, is his life being destroyed? Like, what is this? This is so full of, like, oh, I'm a poor little victim.
Many creators and private individuals have reached out to help me with this financial burden, and they understand the fallout, which is likely to come for me and my family, for doing the right thing when it mattered the most.
I can't even, the amount of, like, oh, poor me, that's in this, I can't even.
Now, to be clear, I've already sent Candace the $300,000.
Okay, yes, you told us already. Tell us 5 more times. Maybe it will really, come across differently next time.
And fulfilled my end of the contract with her. If you guys want...
No, you haven't. You have to actually go and do the debate. I think you have to do the debate to really fulfill your end.
Want to help me in bearing that cost and help cushion the overwhelming attacks from her sycophants? Here's where you can donate. Many of us are in this fight together, win or lose. Maybe I can do something.
Who's gonna pay me besides Mark there? Who's gonna pay me to cushion me from the attacks of Andrew Wilson's sycophants? Huh? Should I make a video like this? Where basically I'm like this?
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Just like that, where I'm like, to endure these attacks from Andrew Wilson's crucible sycophants and to cushion me from their cruel comments, please donate to my Give, Send, Go for reasons.
To change its course for the entirety of the conservative movement. Promise made, promise kept.
Oh my God, he's not doing the Trump thing too. That has been the Trump slogan too, where he was like, promises made, promises kept. That is a Trump slogan. And promises were not freaking kept. He can't be using that for, that's not for real. He is really trying to do this promises kept thing that Trump was doing with how Trump is going right now and how like hardly anybody likes him anymore with everything he's done and all the promises he hasn't kept and literally did the opposite of. To use that here is it's not smart.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so somewhere along the line there's a link that comes with this where you can donate to help out the poor puppies. I mean, Andrew Wilson or whatever. If you're interested, it's out there somewhere. You may find it on your own. My goodness, that was special. All right, we'll pull up the other debate here in a minute. Since I have it locally too, I might as well just play it locally too. Where is that? I have this over here. Oh, that's the wrong one. There's another round 2. This was a round 2. Oh, here it is. Oh, wrong. This one. My goodness. What am I even clicking on? Oh, here it is. Oh my goodness, that was loud. Sorry, since the other one was so quiet, this one is... I apologize for anybody who was wearing headphones or in general. I forgot that I had to turn it up so high. Okay. Professor says, oh, stroke of good luck. That was funny. I honestly think if they can't pin him to TPUSA, there will be little effect in the real world. If he does well, TPUSA will cheer him on. And if he fails, they will say he's not one of us. I agree, but I think as far as effect in the real world, I guess it depends on how you define the real world, because there is... On his own, Andrew Wilson isn't as influential as, like, Joe Rogan or Candace, but there is a significantly sized corner of the internet that have him basically as their hero. And I think it will make a dent. Maybe not like the real world. Like if you're at a dinner table, probably nobody's going to know who that is. But as far as the internet is concerned, and the internet is increasingly important, there is a significant corner of it where some of them that, still have their wits about them will see their hero get taken down in a very embarrassing way. And maybe some of them will wake up and realize, like, hey, maybe some of this other stuff he's spouting is also bullshit. That's something that could happen. And I think that has value. I really think it does. I don't think that I don't think it's in Candace's benefit really to do this, except for, I mean, I guess I kind of see it her way too, of like, if she keeps getting called out and people keep accusing her of like not being able to defend her views and stuff, it shuts them up in a way. So I could see why she would want to do that, but I also, it really is, I know she's sort of pointed this out, how people keep saying like, oh, it's just giving him a platform, it's just this and just that, and how she disagrees with that. And, she's allowed to disagree with that, obviously, but I really still do think it's just giving him a platform, it's giving him what he wants. But I think that taking it all the way to the end, as far as really having the debate and beating him in it, in a way that's very obvious to everybody, I think that would really backfire for Wilson. So he wanted the fame and the attention and the money and, the audience, the reach, whatever. And now he's going to get it, but not in the way that he planned. So that's going to be interesting. Not my Crucible crew. They just have a passing affection for me. Now give me monies. Word. That was pretty funny. Rick now says, you could use the same argument to ask for money. You get Crucible trolls harassing you. That is true. That is very true. I just gotta make a very like solemn video. It's like this, and do it a little bit sideways or something. I still don't know what that's about. It's like something about him is like sideways. This was always meant to result in a fundraiser. I think that's probably true. His post-debate grift stream is gonna net so much money when he claims victory. I think so, but maybe not as much as he's hoping, because, well, the truth isn't on his side, and he finally has an opponent that I think can really like stand her ground. At least I hope so. Putin says, why did I miss making fun of Andrew Wilson's sad little donate to save the puppies, Wilson's pockets video, where he was crying about how poor Candace is making him debate him, even though he was the one that was begging anyway. Welcome back. Can't wait for the Crucible cartoon post-debate where he can paint a false reality. Word. I remember the one he made after Tilly reamed him out about the defamation lawsuit classic. I haven't seen that one. I think the only one I've seen was somebody else played it on their stream and like reacted to it, but I haven't really seen those except that one where I think it was like he was just like smoking and laughing and it was really creepy and awkward, and somebody reacted to it on their stream and I saw that, but I haven't seen the rest of them. I heard that that's a thing that he's doing, but I haven't gotten around to watching those yet. I just saw that one through somebody else's stream and I thought it was super cringe and I was like, what's that? What's that? What's that?
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Something like that. I'm enjoying the circus, but too many clowns. That's pretty clever. Yep, that is true. I wonder if agreeing to this is Candace's way of enticing others out of the battlefield of debate. I don't know. It could be. It's a thought. Andrew and his sub-story for sure. Don't worry, they're cringe as fuck. Yeah, that's on point. W soundboard. I'm working on it. I'm working on the buttons. It's one of my favorites. All right, let's get into this debate over here.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Award. So I want to program third hour of the Alex Jones Show are being joined by Andrew Wilson, very successful online debater, commentator, host of The Crucible. Me and Andrew had a stream about, I think it was 7 weeks into the conflict, where I believe like we disagree with each other's position on whether this is a war or not a war. So I want to define terms. I want to define what we're talking about here. I don't want to speak for you, Andrew. I want you to speak for yourself. Where do you stand now into the conflict 6 months?
I'm fine calling it a war. I don't think that's a problem. It definitely is not boding well for the Trump administration, that's for sure, going on 6 months.
You see what I meant when I was when I brought it up earlier? Because he's got his hat down, like you can't really see his face at all. It's very like dark. You can't see his eyes. I don't know if that means anything, but usually you can at least like see his eyes and some of his face. So I don't know if this is, if he's like trying to hide something or if he's just like embarrassed to defend this point that's kind of indefensible. Whatever it is, it's kind of creepy.
With no real resolution in sight. So I don't think that it was a great idea for his administration to do.
Right. And this is the frustration that I had initially. Forget just being a young person, forget just being 23 for a second and thinking about the prospect of us being involved in another like ground war in the Middle East. It seemed like something that could never be extricated from. And like what was...
By the way, let me know if like the volume is okay and balanced for this, or if I need to turn like, you know, them down or me down or up or whatever. Let me know.
What is, or I don't want to speak for you, what's your belief on the reality of this being like winnable per se?
There's no clear objective for what winning is. And so I'm not sure what we would even be winning. If you go into a country and you attack them, you need to kill everybody until you have unconditional surrender. And short of that, you probably shouldn't be fighting a war at all. That is in fact the case. So I never thought it was a great idea for Trump to go in. My kind of red line with him is whether or not he does a ground campaign. I think if he does that, it would be the ultimate disaster for his administration.
It's already a disaster for his administration.
I think that.
But at least it's nice to know that there's a line for you somewhere.
Support for Donald Trump, as opposed to the alternative, is still a much better proposition ultimately for the nation. But I understand the anti-war sentiment.
Yeah, I don't see how. I think that maybe this is finally going to be, did I say maybe finally enough? One of those years, or like maybe it gets bad enough that people will finally realize that, okay, neither of the two major parties is going to get us what we want, and both of them are going to take us deeper into debt and deeper into war, and basically how you can't really vote for one to get away from the other, that they're two sides of the same coin, and trying to vote for whichever side you I guess hate the least isn't going to prevent bad things from happening, which I think is where most people were at until recently. And I really hope that's changing, because a lot of people fall for this like, oh, well, if I don't vote for, you know, side A, then side B is going to get into power and they're going to do X, Y, and Z. But then like no matter who gets into power, it's all the same crap every time. So hopefully more people are starting to realize that. Mr. Mysterio Wilson. It's a little bit listenable. I can turn it up a little bit more. That's on my end. See if that helps a little bit, because I know the other one was very low, but this one I had to turn back down because it was very loud at first. So I don't want to. It's always kind of hit and miss when I put on a new thing midstream. No bias, but Putin is doing a better job at war than Trump, says Putin. Oh, and there's the emojis too. Thumbs up for baldness, or the bald guy, I guess. Maybe to be fair, both sides are trying to box the other side out indefinitely. Oh, sounds good. Hopefully I didn't turn up too much now. He's hiding his pupils. I wonder about that.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the key disagreement that we have there, because I think we both agree now, 6 months into the conflict, that it is a war and all that, and that it's not boding well, as you said, for the Trump administration. I agree. Here's where I stand. If we back, where do you stand now into the conflict 6 months?
Sorry, I think that might have been me.
I'm fine calling a resolution.
Young person, for just being 23 for a second.
For his administration to do.
Right. And this is the frustration that I had initially. Forget just being a young person, for just being 23 for a second and thinking about the prospect of us being involved in another like ground war in the Middle East. It seemed like something that could never be extricated from. And like what is, or I don't want to speak for you, what's your belief on the reality of this being like winnable per se?
There's no clear objective for what winning is. And so I'm not sure what we would even be winning. If you go into a country and
oh, look at him saying sensible stuff. But something that I promised I was going to tell you about. So it's related to the title, and I when I was trying to find like, okay, which parts do we cover, and then we're like, okay, we'll just play through all of it. It's not that long, as long as I don't blab too much, and then we'll see. But then I was also looking through YouTube, and I found when I was trying to find this video again, and I found some other ones, and I found some round 1. And then I found this round 2. So I was like, okay, there's a previous one, and there's this one. And then I found other people that were covering round 2. And I was like, okay, we'll pull the transcript for that, see how that's different. And there was one I saw from Vic that I had Claude look at. Because, I mean, that'd be very, very, a waste of a lot of time to try to sit through all of it. But let's see. So Vic did cover it also, and I have notes here from that, but I haven't looked at that yet. So if we want to, I can look through that later if anybody's interested in what other people had to say about it. But something else I had Claude look at is I also noticed that Wilson put this conversation on his channel. And what was interesting about that is he only put part of it on, and we'll get to it here shortly, but I hate it when it does that. I don't mean to move it around, but it just does that. I have to figure out how to make it stop doing that. But basically, this has 2 parts to it. There's a part about the Iran war, and then there's a part about the Epstein stuff. And if in the beginning, they kind of cover both topics a little bit briefly, and then they get into the Iran war one, and then they get into the Epstein stuff. So Wilson only put part of this debate on his channel, and it was the Iran war one. He did not put the Epstein part up. And I don't just mean that, at least according to the transcript. I haven't checked it because it was like right before the stream started, but according to Claude at least, he put up only the part that was literally like the Iran war. So the little bit in the front that also covered Epstein, that was trimmed out and pulled out. So it wasn't just like, oh, they cut it in half because it was too long, and then it's like part 1 and part 2. No, it's like, here's, one part about the Iran war. There's a shorter, like another short part about Epstein, and then it's the Iran war again. They pulled out the part that was the Epstein part in between the other 2, and just like, so that it's like people don't even like know to look for part 2 where it's the Epstein stuff. So people aren't like, oh, well, they covered this and this, and then it's only their own stuff. Like, where's the rest of it? Again, and I'm sort of, in my opinion here, that is something that could have happened. I'm not necessarily assigning any kind of motive here specifically. I'm not saying I read their mind and I know exactly why they did that, but that's what it looks like to me. It's like they don't want people to know that, like, hey, there's a part 2. But yeah, so that was kind of last minute. Take that with a grain of salt, I guess. Look into it on your own if you would like, but I just found that interesting, and I couldn't help but wanted to share that because, like, wow. Again, I understand cutting like part 1 and part 2, but to even like cut out the mention of that there is a part 2 from the beginning of it, I thought was extra weird. So it's interesting, like the parts that they choose to share on the Crucible channel is interesting, but what's more interesting is the parts that they don't share. Thumbs up for baldness. I don't know who the bald guy is. That is Rex Jones. That is, Alex Jones. That's his son. What's that on his head? A heart? Could be a birthmark or something. I'm not sure. Emojis. You could also have emojis, people in general. If you do the join button on YouTube, there are emojis that are available. And also, I'm working on the little, like the sprites that go next to the name. Right now, it's like the default stars, but I do have some ideas that I'm working on, and those are going to look very different soon. So then you get to have a fun little sprite next to you, too. Gorbachev special on his head. I don't know what that means. No, I don't. I think his heart is on his sleeve. Oh, wait, I have a thing for that. I've had those for a while, like the sound ones. I just haven't used them. Your little like drum icon made me remember that I had one of those. All right, let's at least Putin has tough guy vibes. Yeah, and there's a Putin emoji too. All right, let us play this now that we have some. Oh, there's more backstory. So there was a part 1. Let me find. I think I have a summary here that I asked for part 1. I have summary here somewhere. I lost the summary. Anyway, what you sort of have to know is that there was a part 1, and I sort of brought it up briefly, and this is a part 2, and I lost the summary. My bad. But that's okay. We'll just watch it. It's getting late anyway.
Attack them. You need to kill everybody until you have unconditional surrender. My kind of red line with him is whether or not he does a ground campaign. I think if he does that, it would be the ultimate disaster for his administration. I still think that support for Donald Trump, as opposed to the alternative, is still a much better proposition ultimately for the nation. But I understand the anti-war sentiment.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the key disagreement that we have there, because I think we both agree now, 6 months into the conflict, that it is a war and all that, and that it's not boding well, as you said, for the Trump administration. I agree. Here's where I stand. If we back him relentlessly into the hilt, it shows that our coalition is weak because we don't care about what we put him in power to do. What do you think about
What's the alternative?
Well, I mean, if you don't hold him to account in 2026, we're going to have a period where they're not going to be able to attack the Supreme Court. They're not going to be able to do much of anything. But if the electorate shows this is unacceptable, then in 2028, we could have a real populist platform. That's the alternative.
I actually don't understand that position. How do we get to a populist platform from us giving up power? So one rule in politics, if you have power, you don't give it up, ever. And the reason you don't want to do that is because the opposition will come in, undo everything that you've done, and reverse your policies. By the time you get power back again,
well, if your policies are shitty, maybe they should be undone.
Doing is undoing. It's just like an undoing after undoing after undoing.
Do you
want to consolidate
power
to the right, for sure.
Do you think are we in power right now? Like, who is us giving up power?
I like that question. I was going to ask the same question too. That is a great question.
Because the Republicans, they don't represent what we voted for, so I don't feel very in control.
Most Republicans do represent what you voted for. There's a few defectors you probably don't like, but overarching.
No, there were a few defectors that I did like that got ejected from Congress. So the few that I did like, that I think a lot of people would agree with me on, like Massey, what's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. So the ones that were actually decent and at least honest, or at least appear to be honest, yeah, those were the few, and they got removed. So it's literally the other way around. Good luck on the stream. Gotta go and start my day. Okay, well, Putin has a lot to attend to. There's, he's got a country to run. He can't be bothering with my peasant little stream here. But thank you for dropping in. It's always nice to see you. I think the first thing Candace does when the camera starts is let Andrew know that 300,000 has been returned to his account. I feel she won't want anything to do with his slimy cash grift. I don't know. I hope she takes it, because, like, why have, like, then he's just going to make even more money. He's already going to make a ton of money off of this. So why give him more money? Like, there is, whether we like it or not, there is power in money, and that's just handing him free money back. I don't know. I think it would be kind of like a powerful message, but I don't think it'd be worth it. Maybe if, I know a lot of people are saying she should donate it. I don't think she should donate it either. Like, the Kirkes have enough money. Maybe if it's like to some other like cause that she likes or whatever, but she's got her own kids. Just put it in their college fund. Why does she? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like the idea of like just giving him more money just because. I see the vision here, but I think I don't know. I don't really like it that much. Us, the feds, have the power, according to Wilson. Says Naz. Yeah, I mean, that's, at least that would fit.
Republicans have been fairly decent when it comes to things like migration, when it comes to trans issues and social issues, domestic policy. They've been fairly decent.
But the war.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm looking at the totality of why it is that.
Yeah, so this is similar to, how earlier I was saying how, okay, this might be kind of similar to how the Candace thing is going to go, because here he has some specific topics, and because he isn't good on these topics, he tries to change the topic into other areas, and he tries to like broaden it out further and further and further until he's like debating metaphysics. And this was like step one of trying to make the topic more broad. And I like that Rex wasn't having it. That's very smart of him.
You don't want to give up power over a conflict you don't support.
All right, but they didn't do what we voted for or what I voted for because they didn't pass the war powers resolution. So they're failing on that front. That's a big problem.
Yeah, I'm certain that there's multiple policies that you would consider to be failures from the right or Republican Party, but that really doesn't have...
Yeah, but this isn't just like, okay, there's a handful of policies and they do some well and others not so well. These policies have different weights. Like, some of them are way more important than other ones.
Any bearing over whether or not, if you look at the totality of how it's going to be governed between the left or the right, it's going to be far superior under the right than the left. And so what I look at politically is I'm looking at political longevity.
Honestly, I don't see a difference.
Who's the nation going to be better in the hands of ultimately? And it's going to be the right wing, and it's going to be Republicans. And there's no...
Well, you don't get to have it in your hands if you keep doing things the way... You only get to keep the nation in your hands if the people let you. And if you piss them off badly enough, they're not going to let you. You're going to lose control faster. So there is a fine line you have to walk if you want your things to get done. You have to pick the things that you really want to focus on and try to push those in and negotiate on the other ones. And no party can just like have everything and anything they want. And that's kind of part of the game you play. And he's sort of just like, oh yeah, so they can be terrible on this like super major big thing and pretty like not great on the other stuff either, honestly, but they get to keep the power and therefore that's better because reasons, I guess. Welcomed. I'd rather focus on the broader picture, the radical left. And also this whole like, oh my god, the left, they're so bad and evil. Like, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't like their policies either. But it's trying to basically paint this boogeyman of like, oh, hey, look over here, it's these people. That's not really helping anybody. I think the only way that we really get... How do I put this? I think that there are more radical elements on both sides. There's radical left, there's radical right, and then for the most part, people are somewhere in between. And I think that the people that are mostly, like most of us, most normal people are somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle, where whether they lean one way or another, they're still somewhere in between and they're more agreeable to compromise. And I think most of us really, we want the same stuff. We want to be more or less safe. We want to have as much freedom as we possibly can. And we want to have a great economy. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And we want peace. At the very essence of it, most of us want these same things. How we go about accomplishing them is a disagreement. I guess several points, not really a point of disagreement, several points of disagreement for each item, I guess. But overall, at our core, we want the same stuff. So this like, oh, look at the left, they're so bad. Or like, oh, look at the right, they're so bad. That's stupid. That's not helping anybody. What is this, like, a house divided cannot stand, or something that some president or something at some point said. I think that's probably true. So this like pointing fingers, it's not helping. Villainizing the people who don't agree with you on policy about some stuff, it's not helping. It's just not helping. Just
with answer buts about that. I've lived under Democrat rule. It's a nightmare. It's always a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare again. So while I agree with you in spirit that there's many things here that we have disagreement.
Okay. When you when you live under Democrat or Republican rule, that usually means that your local government is one way or another. Who the president is matters for bigger things, like do we have peace, economy stuff. But as far as like policies about your local stuff, that tends to, that's sort of probably going to be what it's going to be. There's a few districts that are, that's flip-flop, but for the most part, there's red areas and blue areas, and sometimes they switch, but for the most part, like, it's one way or another. So who the president is matters only for certain things. So the topics that as far as like what the presidency is about and what it matters and why it matters, those topics especially have to do with war. And there are other things that the president and the Congress and federal level people do that I don't personally think they should be involved in. I think more power has to go down to your local government so that you can argue with people in your local town and, decide who you want ruling over you, because that's what it is, people ruling over you, unfortunately. And we don't have to all get so heated about like who it is, like the one to rule them all. Unfortunately, our system is heading the opposite direction, more power to the federal government, less to the smaller governments. But generally, we want the federal government to at least do well on war, and specifically peace. We want peace. That's what we want from the federal government, because the federal government is currently there to, like, at the very least, manage our relationships with other countries. Because you can't have like a local mayor going out to, some other country and negotiating whatever. It doesn't work that way. So we want the federal government to at least be good on this one thing. And if they're not, then whatever other cool things they have don't really matter. This is like, you have one job. Unfortunately, they don't literally have that one job. They have way more than that one job, and they shouldn't. But that's like the first one they have is like, that's the one job that other lower level governments can't do. You can't, like, state level, city level, town level, whatever. Lower level governments can't really do that. So they have to, at the very least, do that properly. And they're failing terribly. It's terrible. It's so bad. It's never been worse. And definitely not 2028. Oh, no, wait. That's funny. Yeah, there's no possible way that... Well, first of all, I wasn't born here. But even if it was possible, it's not my thing. Like, ruling over other people doesn't sound like a good time. Third party is the only option. I agree. I think the only way that we can, like, as a people, finally, like, tell off the bigger parties that tend to, like, take our votes for granted and then walk all over us is to not vote for them. And not only not vote for them, but vote for somebody else. And something that I also think about this, like, voting for third party thing. A lot of people are like, well, they're not going to win. And I'm like, okay, but if they don't win anyway, and if whoever one of the bigger ones wins anyway, then you're not losing anything. So why not just go for it? And it at least sends a message, and a message is what we need to send as a people right now, because otherwise they'll just keep taking your vote for granted, and they'll just do whatever they want. And whether you call into your congressperson or whatever, write a letter, whatever you want to do, they're just going to keep ignoring it and doing whatever they want, whatever's best for their own pockets. So I think voting third party is possibly the only way we could do that peacefully, aside from protests. But even protests don't really work unless there's something else behind it. Protests are like a visual way to represent you not voting for them anymore. And if you protest but you keep voting for them, then what? They're just like inconvenienced mildly for a couple days, and that's it. That's not going to stop them. You're welcome. The only way to get peace is through force doctrine. I'm not sure how to read this one. Sorry, Naz.
With we need to rein our party back in and tell them no war, things like this. That has no bearing ultimately on who I want to see governing.
We will talk about that when we come back. Andrew Wilson, the Crucible, Rex Jones, from the time with Owen. And I believe that, when was the debate with Owen?
Oops.
When did that occur in timeline? The conflict?
I don't exactly remember. It was very early on.
All right, the crew will fact check that really quick. I'm going to read this quote. And this is in response to something we'll get into later in the next segment, which relates to our Epstein.
It's funny. He really is a lot like his dad. He's got similar mannerisms, and he's got this pen thing, and he's got the, the printed sheet of paper in front of him and everything. It's very Alex Jones 2.0. It's kind of cute. It's like, oh, it's like a little Alex Jones. Force doctrine. You lead a cult, though. It is probably impossible for a third third party to have a chance. But it would send a strong message. Plus, if enough people are like, okay, yeah, I'm not voting for, I've been burned enough times by the major ones, I'm just going to vote for something else. I think it's possible for enough people to be pissed off enough to really get somebody in. I think it is possible. It just takes people, all that it really takes, and this is the hardest part, is for people to have like a little bit of hope. And that's difficult, honestly. That is difficult. For them to be like, well, instead of doing nothing, I can go and, vote in protest of both of the parties that have screwed me before by voting for this third party, even though I might not agree with everything that they say or do, because like the worst that could happen is the same thing that's happened before. And okay, but the best that could happen is something very different. So I don't know. I think it's worth a chance to try to do something different one time. Just one time. Can we vote for something different? When money talks, the truth doesn't matter. Rex Jones is such a Chad name. That is true. It's very like, I don't know, manly, I guess.
Disagreement, right? So I want to say this in context. I'm not saying this is exclusively an Iranian war argument, but it does reference kind of your feelings towards the Iranian people. I'm going to read this. Not only that, I'll tell you something really interesting. I do know of a satanic type religion of pedophiles, and right this second, Trump is blowing them up. Right this second, as we speak, he blew up their leadership. The Ayatollah Khamenei instituted child marriage as young as 9 years old inside of Iran, and we're killing them overwhelmingly. You want to talk about pedophiles? Let's talk about pedophiles. Where are they at? I can tell you who are blowing up right now. Who are pedophiles? That would be Trump blowing up pedophiles. That's what he's doing currently. Is that the way you feel about all the civilian deaths in this war as well? What's your...
Okay, I remember this. This was during his debate with the other Chad, what's his name? Schroyer. Owen Schroyer.
Oh, what I was doing there was testing the logical.
Oh, no way out. Of course he's going to say. Oh, of course he's going to say that. That is his move. Every single time he gets called out for saying something super cringe, he gets to fall back on this all like, oh, I'm just testing your logic. Oh, I'm just doing internal critique. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. Even though, like, come on. That's such a cop-out.
Consistency of the pedophile craze for Epstein. So the idea was from Owen's position was that the most important thing was to stop the pedophiles who are in government who are eating children and all this shit, right? So I said, look, if that's the case, if it's really just about pedophiles, then we can point out that there's another nation that's completely filled to the brim with them, and we're blowing them up at the moment. It's just
yeah, I don't really... That's such a stupid argument, that the fact that he's sort of, on one hand, he's saying, oh, I'm just testing logic. And on the other hand, he's doubling down on the same argument. So which is it? Were you just testing logic, or are you trying to explain how this argument really works?
That's the logical consistency.
Because it doesn't.
It's not a position that is pro-war. It's just a position
so just to be clear, if it's purely like to test logic, you do not support bombing pedophiles in Iran?
No. Well, I don't support, let's just say, like, if we put it in a vacuum, if all the pedophiles in Iran died of a heart attack, I would support that. But if it's the case that I have to send United States soldiers over to blow them up, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea, no.
Okay, so that's what you meant when you said, I'm not an anti-war guy, but I'm not a pro-Iranian war guy.
Correct. I'm not anti-war.
Okay.
It just depends on what the war or the conflict is. So I'm an America firster. It's the case that I'm anti-Iranian.
It doesn't seem like it. I think if you were America first, you probably wouldn't want America to get involved in things that aren't for us, that are in basically purely for the benefit of other countries and, some oligarchs, I guess, that we have here. Remember how he excused the schoolgirl bombing? That shit was vile, but hey, it's out of context probably. Yeah, that was, I think they might bring it up here.
Trump blowing up pedophiles. That's
of the pedophile craze for Epstein. So the idea was from Owen's position was that the most important thing was to stop completely filled to the brim with.
Sorry, it keeps like rewinding
them, and we're blowing them up at the moment. It's just to test the logical consistency. It's not a position that is pro-war. It's just a position.
So just to be clear, if it's purely like to test logic, you do not support bombing pedophiles in Iran?
No. Well, I don't support, let's just say, like, if we put it in a vacuum, if all the pedophiles in Iran died of a heart attack, I would support that. But if it's the case that I have to send United States soldiers over to blow them up, I'm not so sure that that's a great idea, no.
Okay, so that's what you meant when you said, I'm not an anti-war guy, but I'm not a pro-Iranian war guy.
Correct. I'm not anti-war.
Okay,
it just depends on what the war or the conflict is. So I'm an America firster. It's the case that I'm anti-Iranian war, sure, but I'm an America firster. So the idea is that there could be wars that America needs to engage in for its own interest. You would agree with me on that. It's just that this probably isn't one of them.
Yeah, but your opinion has changed because initially you didn't call it a war. Now you're calling it a war. So
well, at the time, I think
that
it fit the criteria of a conflict more than it did a war. And it was a very short conflict that led to what looked like possibly a ceasefire, but that fell apart. And it does look like it's becoming a hot war, yeah.
Right, a regional conflict, a regional war. And like, this is the reality. Like, there's no brakes on this train. This is why it grinds my gears when people still support the president over this and say there's some reason to this. There's not. This is a COVID of choice in my view. Would you disagree with that?
Yeah. So I'm not supporting. Do you agree with me that we don't have to support every position of Donald Trump to still understand?
Yeah, but this is a pretty big one.
And that he's the lesser of two evils here.
I think there's a hierarchy.
This is exactly what I was talking about, this lesser of two evils thing, where people keep voting for whichever side they think is the lesser of two evils, and then they still get evil. So you still get evil in the end. Like you get lesser of two evils, which means you are stuck with evil no matter what. How about we don't do that? I mean, has anybody considered doing something that's not evil? Can we try doing not evil? That is an option if we all take it. It's there for us to take if we just decide to not do evil. Just don't vote for evil. How is that? It can't be that hard. Why is it so hard? Tanks will be in the streets. We won't win. Still better. The devil, you know. Yeah, the devil, you know, I really don't agree with that. That sounds like the lesser of two evils thing to me. I'm not sure if that's what you meant by that, but I happen to disagree with that.
I think when you do like the grand ultimate sin, I think it really counts against you. I think that's what he's done with the war, the peace president.
I don't think that that's the grand ultimate sin. The grand ultimate sin is yielding right-wing power to progressive, insane lunatics.
Okay, this is this is getting a little repetitive, but I think I already kind of went on a spiel about how like pointing fingers on the other side isn't really, helping unite, whatever. I don't need to repeat that, but just pointing out how very predictable this is.
Okay, these people are lunatics. I've seen what they do when they're in power. Again, that I think is the ultimate sin. I think, and by the way, I'm not even sure that having progressives in power would stop any foreign conflict. It hasn't before. Like,
yeah, so why don't we just vote libertarian? How about that?
What foreign conflict do they ever stop? I've never seen them stop any of them. I always see them get expanded under progressives, in fact. Got expanded under Obama. Clinton bombed foreign nations. Every time a progressive...
Okay, thank you. We agree. No matter who you vote for as far as the two major parties, you're going to get more war. So the only choice we have is libertarians.
Progressive is in power, I see them do this. So I don't even know that follows that voting in progressives is going to even stop any of the conflicts anyway. At least if we're in power and can apply some sort of pressure on Republicans and the Republican administration.
Yeah, I don't see any of that working.
I mean, that's superior to if we had progressives in power, I think.
Is there any accountability for the Republican Party, or do they just get to avoid punishment forever for breaking their promises?
One of the problems we have in this nation, man, is that politics is a team sport. And we have universal suffrage, and so that's also a team sport. And so you want your team to win, and you have to have your team in power. You can't legislate. You can't do it. You have to have a majority in order to legislate correctly, because the other side will stop you at every turn. It's not a matter of holding them accountable. I understand that. I get it. The question is like, are we going to give up power to progressives? And the answer for me is unequivocally no. Would I love it if we were able to hold more of these people responsible? Sure, absolutely. But do I want progressives to govern as an exchange for that? I'm not so sure about that proposition. That seems like a bad prop to me.
I just think we've lost more than we've gained conservatively. Let's just go with the initial 39-day of the war count. It's 113 billion. Look at our bases. Look at things destroyed. Look at munitions. Let's just call it another few billion, whatever we want to say. Look at the global energy crisis ramification for people at home. People are spending more money. Ultimately, you're looking at like around a $200 billion price tag for 150 days or 6 months of war.
It's going to be more than that before it's done.
Well, absolutely. So how on quote unquote our side, quote unquote the right, how is that not the ultimate sin? I'm going to put that back to you.
Because domestic policy is even more important than foreign policy is.
Okay, so vote in for your local government to do things differently and like try to get power away from the federal government so you can vote for whoever you want on your local government, and you can let whoever disagrees with you vote for their local government, and then you can just live in different places and do what you want locally that you don't have to fight over.
Significantly more important. And the domestic policy under Democrats is going to look like this. They're going to institute corporate tax increases immediately, which Trump tried to offset with tariffs, which is going to increase the amount that you pay for your goods.
Oh no, is the economy going to be bad? Wow, what's that going to be like? We couldn't possibly imagine the economy going in like a negative direction, because it's not like it's happening now or anything. Wow, a bad economy. What's new?
Significantly. They tried to say that Trump was doing that when he instituted tariffs. The opposite is true. When you up corporate taxes, who ends up paying the bill? It's the consumer. Not only that, they're going to roll.
We still get to pay the bill even for tariffs. We pay the bill no matter what. Like it's, I'm not seeing a difference here.
back Roe v. Wade and the legislation that we have fervently fought for there. They're going to pack the court. These people are lunatics. They will. And by the way, right now we have net.
Okay, so this is something I have in my notes. They're going to roll back Roe v. Wade. So that was already rolled back. They had Roe v. Wade, and then they rolled it back. So that was like the good thing, according to Wilson, that happened, that it was rolled back. So you don't roll back something that's already been rolled back. I guess you could roll it forward, or I don't know. Yeah, that's something I don't know. It's just like, wait a minute, what?
Zero net negative, actually, migration to the United States. And I guarantee you that that's not going to stay the case under progressive rule. So look, I get it. There's a foreign policy blunder that's going on, and it really sucks. And I hope we can rein it in. But I'm telling you right now that the alternative of putting progressives in power is going to destroy the nation even further than it's been destroyed, significantly more. Right now, you have who on the left? You have Mamdani. You have communists coming out of the East, which is where they've traditionally come from, moving their way out westward. You want these people in power? No, you don't. You don't want them in power.
Okay, so Mamdani, or whatever his name is, that's like a local government thing. Again, why do we need to do war at the federal level to vote somebody out at the local level? That doesn't make sense to me. Fiolcon says, whenever he says the opposite is true, I wish someone would just push back and ask him to demonstrate it. I don't understand why people let him get away with this shit. Yeah, I kind of get it, because when you're in the moment, it's kind of, you're trying to like answer the questions that are thrown at you while trying to like think about what you're going to say next, and there's a lot going on. So I sort of understand like not catching everything, but from our perspective sitting here, I agree with 100%. Like there are so many things that I'm like, oh, if only they could say this, but it's like looking from like as an outsider at a conversation versus being in it is very different. So I understand, but I agree with you.
Even if it was the case that they reined in some of these wars, which I doubt, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, they will still destroy you domestically.
They're handed the keys to the kingdom, though, when we have coffins come home draped in American flags. And the whole narrative about Mamdani, he's in the Oval Office shaking hands with Donald Trump hanging out. So the whole narrative, oh, the great communist enemy, the evil enemy, I just see these as different factions that want to destroy the country. Do you not see the Republicans as a different faction that wants to destroy?
No, I've never believed the ideal that this was a two-headed snake with one single body. That's not the case. The case of the matter is that if you have...
It's not the case. Okay, sure.
Universal suffrage, you're always going to be reduced to a single party, even in places where they have rounds of voting like they do in the UK.
So single party, I thought he didn't think it was the same. He said that he doesn't believe in the two-headed snake. So we do have universal suffrage. So what does he mean we're going to be reduced to a single party? Because there's two parties. And that's not even true, because other countries have universal suffrage too, and they have more than two parties. So even if he meant two when he said one, it's still not really accurate, because there's other countries that have all sorts of numbers of parties that constantly change and shift. So that's not necessarily a given.
It comes down to just two parties, which are the two major parties. There's not much you can do, because there's a couple of wedge issues that parties can build their platforms around that people will endlessly fight about. That is the truth of the world. The idea that Mamdani is going down shaking hands with Trump means nothing. That's politics, man. That's how that works. That doesn't mean he doesn't hate him. That doesn't mean he's not smiling, waiting to put a knife in his back and in the back of the Republic, because they are. These people are psychopathic lunatics, and they're communists, and their entire ideology is the destruction of capitalist America. That's what they want more than anything.
Okay, sure. I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't think that you can exclude Republicans from being the same. Like, a lot of people that want to be in power, that seek out power, that seek out to lord over other people, a lot of those people are not good people, and a lot of them are like that. So I don't see how we're just pointing fingers at one side and being like, oh, they're all bad like this, but our side is fine. Like, no. How about they both suck?
Yeah, when America supports and props up genocides that Israel and Ukraine commit, and then people like Mamdani can run on being opposed to that, we hand them a free win.
Ooh.
Yeah, look, I agree with you that politically this was a bad idea for Trump, that it's going to weaken his base support and already has, that it is the case that many of the right-wingers are going to be extremely upset about this, and they are. I agree with all of that. There's nothing you're saying there which is untrue.
I know, but it wasn't this wasn't your initial position.
There's nothing here that you're saying, though, that I'm saying that's untrue either. Both things are true. It is true that his support is being eroded because of this conflict. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, but it's equally true that if we have progressives in power, domestic policies are going to...
Okay, so if his support is being eroded, how are you going to not have progressives in power? Because if the worst thing that could happen is progressives being in power, how are you avoiding that by letting accepting that, okay, well, his support is being eroded. If people don't support him and don't support the party, you don't get to stay in power. You don't just like magically get to stay in power if people don't vote for you and don't support you. Because if the worst thing that could possibly happen is progressives being in power, that's what you're going to get. If this kind of stuff keeps happening, that's what you're going to get. People are going to vote for whatever the opposite of what they currently have is if things get bad enough. And that's where we're at. So what he's saying really doesn't go together. He's acting like these things sort of coexist, but they don't. They really don't.
To absolute shinola, and they are going to destroy us. Both things are true at the same time. So what's the pathway forward is what we're discussing, right?
Well, how do you hold
the idea is like, what do we do?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all good.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you. Please go ahead. Please. No, you go ahead. That was unusual. Maybe he didn't have anything else to say. He couldn't think of anything else. This is exactly why he wants to do away with democracy altogether. Oh yeah, I guess if people don't get to vote, I'm not sure if that's. I don't remember him saying that specifically, but he does say like the universal suffrage. At least he's against that. I don't know if democracy has different definitions, so I think that depends on how you define democracy. But I think that it would make sense if you just get rid of voting, then it doesn't matter. Then they sort of get to force themselves into power, and who cares what people think?
Who and how and what controls the Republican Party then?
Mostly donor money, donor class, NGOs, things like this. They're also beholden to constituency, so it's a coalition.
Yeah,
of
who would those
that will
people be?
control.
Who would the donors be? Who would the donor class be? Would that be people that support Greater Israel Project and are generating dead American bodies?
And Kufi, and all sorts of different people. But
so it does
also,
sound like the voter, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like that's a very one-dimensional aspect to look at. It's like, yes,
you can say
Jews
that. Why is that true?
Well, hang on. I'm going to tell you. Jews pump a lot of money into politics. There's no doubt about it. So does Israel. But on the other hand, so do most of the Arab nations. So do most foreign nations pump money into politics.
Are we fighting a war for them?
Left.
Are we fighting a war for the Arab nations right now or for Israel?
No, that's beside the point, though.
No, who controls?
What is beside the point? What do you mean?
The party, Andrew. Who controls the party?
So it's not purely Jews who control the party.
I didn't say
it's
that.
It's a collection of NGOs that control both parties. They both have vested interests.
He's still avoiding the question.
It depends on which party and which platform you're looking at. If you're looking at the Democrat and Republican, the dialectic there, they're mostly held by huge donors, by NGOs, and their constituency and what their constituency wants. One thing both constituencies agree on is they want to move away from the Iraq conflict, but NGOs and donors on both sides may not want to do that. So yes, both parties are seized by NGOs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And also they have some sort of beholdenness to their own
Okay, so vote for libertarians. Thank you.
Constituency. So it's a coalition of factors, not a single factor.
So if it's being run by donor money and not by the will of the people, the will of the voters, then how are we bad for wanting to hold them to account by doing the only thing we can do by not voting for them?
Yeah, that's not how's that going to help though? Like, what is that going to do for you exactly?
Can I answer?
What does that do for you? Yeah, what does it do for
Gridlock,
you?
stagnation in Washington, D.C., perhaps a passing of the War Powers Resolution into the Iran conflict, impeachment charges for Trump for war crimes, blowing up the school.
Okay, so let's just assume that you get all of that.
I'll take it.
That's going to take a progressive majority. You agree with me there, right?
No.
I don't think
There's
so.
no way you're going to get an
Gridlock.
impeachment.
I said gridlock.
You're not going to get an impeachment of Donald Trump without a progressive majority, dude. No way.
They can do an impeachment in the House and have it fail in the Senate. That happened before.
Well, then that's not a real impeachment, right?
No, that's still an impeachment. He just doesn't get convicted. You can still get impeached but not convicted. That's what happened to him last time.
The question comes down to this. What do you...
It's still a real impeachment. You just don't get convicted.
Yeah, if progressives are in office. Tell me what I'm going to get. What do I get?
Probably not the
What is
Iran
me,
war.
the average?
Probably not the
Okay,
Iran
great.
war.
I know. I'm not asking what I don't get. I'm asking what I do get. What do...
Getting not the Iran war is getting something.
do I get?
Well, I told you I consider that to be the supreme thing. You're going to make arguments. Are they going to pack the Supreme Court? No. They're not
I
going
don't
to
get
pack the
anything.
Supreme Court.
So okay, the conflict in Iran goes away, which it wasn't there for most of Trump's presidency, first and second.
What kind of argument is that? It is such a stupid thing to say. I don't even know what to say to that. That is so stupid.
You can't say that. It's
So
not
the
going to go
question
away,
becomes,
Andrew. That's an assertion
if
of
the
yours.
progressive...
Oh, well, he wasn't doing it most of his presidency, so, like, what if he does it just, like, a little war over here for, like, you know, a couple, I don't know, decades. But most of his presidency, it wasn't there. It's only, like, the last couple years of his presidency, plus a few more decades. Whatever. But if you only count the years he was president, technically, most of the time he was president, he wasn't doing this war thing, so... See, for real.
If the progressives are in charge, I'm saying, in this hypothetical, the progressives are in charge, the Iran war is gone now. Okay, they stop it for whatever they do. They put an end to it. Now what?
We have a 2028 where we have a healing of the country. We have a true battle for the soul of the nation. You don't believe in that. You believe in cucking and cowing to the Republican Party. This is all I'm hearing right now.
Rex, what do I get if they're in office, dude? Answer me. What do I get if...
This is something that he has asked in many other debates in general. And it's... something about this question sort of gives me the ick on like a vibes level. It's not necessarily... I just think it's kind of telling of, like, maybe related to personality or something. I can't necessarily describe it very well in words, but something about, like, what do I get? What do I get? What do I get? Tell me what I get. I want to get stuff. If I don't get stuff, it doesn't count. It only matters if I get stuff. And if I don't get anything, then it's garbage. It's whatever I get, whenever I get the most stuff that I want, that's what matters the most. And, like, sure, to an extent, I think a lot of people function this way. Like, people are going to go wherever it is that, you know, they get the most benefit. And that's sort of true. But I do also think that a lot of people accept part of what's beneficial to them as, like, what do other people want? Like, how do we get the most peace versus, like, oh, what do I personally get? So I think for most normal people that is part of, like, a beneficial thing that you also get is, like, when other people are happy. But this is very, like, self-focused, I suppose. And again, this is just vibes. I don't have, like, any specific thing about this besides I find it icky, and that's what I think.
Progressives are in office, bro.
Well,
what do I get?
Massa on our plantation is better than Massa on theirs. That's your entire argument. With the Republicans, you get war. With the Democrats, you get potentially more immigration.
Can you answer the question that I asked you, dude?
Potentially more immigration.
Not just more immigration. I'm going to get increased taxes. I'm going to get
We get that no matter what.
rollback of all of the social programs.
We're being taxed right now. The war's a tax.
I think Trump promised us something about getting rid of income tax. What happened to that? What happened to that? That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice. But instead we get more IRS agents and more money for IRS, more money for FBI, more money for the war, more money for, like, literally everybody except for the people. It lines up with his not one step back mentality, no concessions under any circumstances. That tracks. What did the people who voted for Trump get? That's a great question. Because they got war. They got war and higher prices and less money in their pocket. That's what people who voted for Trump got, and that's what people who didn't vote for Trump got. That's what all Americans got. Most, not all. Even the rich people had to spend more money, I suppose, on things. So really, like, all Americans got the war and all Americans got worse economy and higher prices. But I think excluding, like, the richest of us who might have had some benefit from it, everybody else basically got shit on a stick.
War's a tax on everyone, Andrew. The war's a tax on everybody. You completely discount every factor of the war that's hurting Americans right now, and you say, but the Democrat. You say, but the Democrat. That's your entire argument.
You're saying, the Democrats will save us, Andrew.
Oh no, somebody else did weird voices, so he can't just let the weird voices work for somebody else. He has to do it too.
That's not what I said. I want the war to end. World War.
That's a new voice. This, like, what is this, like? Usually he does more like a smoking me in bed. I can't even do it. It usually sounds different. I don't know. I don't know if he's off his game here or if this is, like, a new character I haven't heard before.
World War III is happening right now. You support World War III. You say you don't, but you make justifications for it.
World War III.
Yes.
You support communists getting into office to save you from the evil Republicans because you can't reign in your own party.
Andrew, what happens when World War III truly breaks out and there's a ground invasion? You were wrong 7 weeks into the war. You're wrong right now. What happens when that
That's a great question.
happens?
How am I wrong? What do you mean? How am I wrong? I never said there would be a ground invasion.
You said it wasn't a war, man. You said it wasn't a war. It
wasn't at the time. It was a conflict at the time.
You have it both ways. So when did it become a war? When did it become a war, Andrew?
I think that when it became a war was after the ceasefires failed. That's when I think it became a true
Which one?
war.
All right, so Trump disagrees with you. Trump says the 4 soldiers that just died didn't die in the Iran war. He says we're not at war. Do you support that
Right,
position?
I disagree with Trump. Fantastic.
All right, so how do you hold him to account? If you disagree with the president, do you care? Is he your king?
So the thing that's funny is, like, we can go to our representatives. We can ask them to defund this. We can ask for many things from the representatives.
Yeah, and when they ignore you and you keep voting for them, what does that tell them? That they can keep ignoring you. Wow, what a great plan, Andrew. Nobody's ever thought of that before. I mean, yeah, keep doing that. I mean, if you keep asking for things and you keep not getting things, I guess that's fine for everybody else. And maybe everybody else who does ask for things and then, doesn't vote for the same people who refuse to give them stuff, maybe they'll get what they want and then you'll just not get what you want. So I guess that works fine. So, keep doing what you're doing.
We're in control. Now that you have established what my view is, Rex, how are Democrats going to save us from anything, bro? Tell me, please.
All right, mass starvation every single day. The Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb are shut. There's global famine, mass migration, human osmotic pressure. Michael Yon talks about it all the time. This war will generate 100 times the problems that you're kvetching about. That's reality.
Well, first of all, hang on. You're still not answering what I'm asking you. How are Democrats, who you can't even guarantee?
I told you, I'm not getting World War III. I'm not getting World War III, Andrew.
Not getting World War III isn't good enough for him.
That they'll stop World War III, bro. So just tell me, what do I get if they're in charge of the domestic policy of the United States besides completely fucked? What do I get?
Get no war. I'm going to keep saying it. Get no war.
Yeah, except can you promise me when Democrats are in office I get no war?
Well, you promised me it was a 7-week conflict and not a war, and then you changed your mind.
So,
no, you get to have it both ways. You get to have your cake and eat it too, but then I have to respond to your hypothetical. If the Democrat win, they destroy the country because you say so. I don't agree with your assertion.
They're going to.
I don't honestly think that it would have been any different whether it was what's her face, the lady that ended up running against Trump after Biden, Kamala. I don't think it would have been any different if Kamala was president, but I do think that now that Trump has started the conflict, I think if we vote in Democrats, I don't think they'll be able to get away with continuing it after being so vehemently against like this specific one. I think they might start like a different one, but I don't think that they can do this one. And I think even starting a different one will be very difficult with how this one is going for the government in general. So I think that they would really struggle to find an excuse to keep it alive after campaigning so strongly against it. So I think that it's reasonable to think that if Democrats do, get into power, that at least this particular war and probably other wars that are similar would not happen for a couple years. And it would probably resume maybe like with the next president or whoever, whether it's a Democrat or whether it's a Republican, whatever the party is. If it's one of the two major parties, I think they would probably give it a break to like act like they did something, and then a few years later that start up either a similar war or the same one or whatever. But at least like for a few years, I think we will have peace, most likely.
I don't think they're going to destroy the country.
So then why not tell people to vote for Democrats? Tell them to vote for Democrats, Rex. Do it live right now on the Alex Jones program.
No, we're not going to be doing that. I'm not voting for my own destruction. Democrat, Republican, they are two wings on the same bird. You disagree with that? That is my position.
The most important thing is World War III, Rex. Tell people to vote for Democrats because they're going to save us.
I think if you just don't vote for people who don't listen to you, that sort of has the effect of the other major party winning. So if you just sit there and do nothing, then the other party is most likely going to win if enough people do the same. But I propose something else for all those people that want to protest by not voting. How about you protest by voting Libertarian? It accomplishes very similar things, but it's even a stronger message because then it really makes the other two parties, both the Democrats and Republicans, worried and start to listen to us more. So you don't get the benefit of just, telling off one party, sending a message for one party. You get the benefit of sending the message to both of the major parties. And there's an added bonus of if enough people do it, we might actually win. It's unlikely, but I think the message that it would send would be very strong, and that would be enough on its own.
Do not vote for Zionist Republicans that want to end your life and your family lineage forever by sending them off to war. Don't put words in my mouth, Andrew. Don't put words in my mouth.
Why don't you tell them to vote for Democrats, Rex?
That's a stupid question. He just answered that question. Because he doesn't agree with them. Like, it sends a message if you don't vote for people who don't listen to you. Why would he vote for people that he doesn't even agree with, that he isn't even trying to get to listen to him? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Why not?
I disagree with that position.
Why not tell them?
I disagree with that position.
That's such an obvious answer. Like, this is not going well for Andrew. None of these arguments are good.
The position. The most important thing is World War III, and the Democrats are going to save us from it. Why wouldn't you vote them into office, Rex?
He's crashing out.
Tell me.
I'm not showing up to the polls. I don't have to exist in your binary.
Oh, okay, right. So I guess the most important thing isn't stopping World War III then, because you can't even be bothered to show up to vote.
A war. Now you say it's a war. That's your consistency. It's a war. That's your consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not going well. These are not good questions.
So you can change your position. You can have your cake and eat it too, but I can't. That's basically your entire take on this from day one.
Rex, this whole thing is insane. First of all, when I said that at the time, we were 6 or 7 or 8 weeks into the conflict. Okay? Yes.
And you were wrong then, and you're wrong now.
Of course, when the situation changes, my opinion
Your
about the
support
situation
generated the war. People like you that backed the Republicans. When Trump said 99% of Republicans supported the war, you're a part of that number. You emboldened his military action.
Did you
I think that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, and that is a good point. I don't disagree with Rex here.
vote for Trump?
Yes, twice.
Then you supported the war.
Yes, I was wrong to believe in the lies of Donald Trump. Donald Trump lied to me. Hold on, Andrew. Donald Trump said no more neocon wars in the Middle East. Is this a neocon war in the Middle East?
That's the same thing he said to me. I voted for him too.
Except you keep supporting him and Rex isn't.
You're still a cop.
What do you want me to do?
You're still fucking for him.
I love it. Rex is doing really well here. He really is. And I think that word specifically is an interesting choice, is specifically against Andrew because of some of the, I guess, what do we call it? Some of the narrative that's floating around about him and his family and stuff like that. I think it's an interesting word choice of things to label him in this case, even though it's, it's for Trump, but the word specifically, I think, was, icing on the cake.
You're fighting for Democrats, bro.
You're making excuses for the dear leader. If you can't criticize your own side, it shows your coalition is weak. You have no coalition. You have no platform. You admit the Republican Party is controlled by the donor class, but then you say to go vote for
So are Democrats.
Okay, they both suck. Rex agrees with you. He doesn't vote. He doesn't want to vote for either of them, but you're still agreeing to vote for one of them. So Wilson doesn't have an argument here.
Proposing we break. I'm post-duopoly.
Oh, okay, great. You're going to break in what? You're going to form a party in 2 years?
I'm 23.
There is already a Libertarian Party that is formed that has gotten a running start, at least, at, fulfilling some of the requirements that the bigger parties put in for a smaller party, and I think it can be done. You don't have to start from scratch.
Your 50s or something, you'll be dead in like 30 years. I'll be here. I care about the nation and the future of this country. That's not going to save us from World War III that you have a party in 20 years, Rex. No, we do it now. We do it now. 2028. You were holding. No, hold on. You were holding to 2026. I'm holding to 2028. That is my entire position. We have somebody run.
You're not going to have a party by 2028. That's insane.
Who was the party? What was the Republican Party?
That's crazy.
They had Ross Perot that basically ran, and apparently he even dropped out for most of the thing, and then dropped back in, and still got a significant amount of vote. Like, he could have probably won if he stayed in the whole time. So I think it's very possible to start something up if you do it properly and you have enough people that are dissenting from the current parties, which is this is as good as time of any, as perfect of a time as any, is how people with both parties are not wanting to vote for their previous party. They're wanting something different, that don't want to vote for the current thing, but also don't want to vote for the older thing. They want something new and different. This is as good time as any. I don't see why not. I think all you really need is to give people hope. And if you give people hope, if you spread the message properly, and you stick to the bare basic things that we want to accomplish, I think it's possible. I really do. I really do. If you welcome says, I'm not the biggest fan of conservatives, but I will tip my hat to people that take accountability, that can be moved towards a more cohesive position. He's 23, rough 23, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people lose hair when they're younger, but besides, being bald, more or less, otherwise he looks pretty young. I don't really see a ton of aging in his face and stuff, so it's not that uncommon for men to lose hair younger too. But otherwise, he looks fine in the face. I don't know what you mean.
2014 was the Republican Party the party of Trump or the party of Jeb Bush and Paul Ryan? What happened there?
It was the party of Trump. Trump wasn't around.
So what happened there? So there's a complete change from, of course, Jeb Bush to Donald Trump, a complete change from pro to anti-war foreign policy because Donald Trump had a populist takeover of the Republican Party. How could we not have that again? You deny that. You say it's impossible.
Yeah, no. What I'm telling you is that you can't have a third party that's viable by 2028.
I didn't say third party. I said having a person run inside the Republican Party.
So then you want us to vote for Democrats now, and then in 2028 vote for whoever the Republican nominee is?
Why not?
Because Rex,
Because the Democrat going to censor me and throw me in jail. That doesn't follow.
Power. Oh, the Democrats are going to save us from World War III.
Yes.
That doesn't follow.
We need accountability,
then
Andrew.
Tell people right now if they're going to
how many pumps? How many pumps? How many dead soldiers? How many? Uncle Sam's railing you right now. Is it going to be 19, 20, 21 pumps, 22? How many more deaths, Andrew, will you justify?
How many times do I have to say I don't support the war?
But you support Donald Trump, who's doing the war. That's the whole point of the argument.
I don't support
Donald Trump. Yes, you do. You support Donald Trump. You're telling people to vote for his party.
Rex, you can't cut me off in the middle of the sentence.
You've been cutting me off.
Funny here, man, is like,
oh no, don't interrupt me, says the interrupter.
I don't support Donald Trump's war in Iran. I do support him on domestic policy and the things that he's gotten done.
It's not a deal breaker for you.
Think for a second, not yet, unless there's a ground invasion. And I got to tell you, man, you're saying that there's going to be World War III and Democrats are going to save us. That's nuts.
By the time there's a ground invasion, it's going to be too late to even complain.
Nuts. They're not going to save us from anything. And if you really believe that they were, why wouldn't you tell people to go vote for them then? Why?
That's a stupid question. He already answered it.
2026, we're not voting. 2028, we're voting for somebody to take.
It makes perfect sense. I don't know why he keeps like trying to use that. It's not working.
Over the party just like Trump did. Respond to my position.
Democrats?
That's my position. 2026.
That's a stupid position.
Respond to it. Don't just say it's stupid. What happens? 2028 we take over the party.
Here, I'll help you out here. Okay, so here's what happens in 2026. You get obfuscation. If you get Democrats in, you get a lame duck. You're right that you got gridlock, but
a lame duck is better than a shitty duck.
What Democrats will come out and say is they'll be like, look, the Republicans have completely failed you while they...
A lame duck is better than an evil duck.
They obstructed every bit of their agenda. That's what they'll run on. They'll put a communist in the White House like they've done before. They will completely and totally take over the electorate, and then we're...
Last time there was a communist in the White House, at least we didn't go to war against Iran.
Really screwed, bro. And what's really funny about this is, again, now that I've responded to you, can you please respond to me? Why won't you tell people if you really believe that Democrats are going to save...
He already answered this question. This is stupid.
...us from World War III, and that's the wedge issue, not to vote for them in 2026. That's an insane contradiction.
I don't agree with that.
That's not a contradiction. This is so stupid.
I agree with holding the Republican Party accountable by not emboldening and enabling them in 2026. Andrew, are they going to... You
said that they were going to save us from World War III. Now they're not, huh?
What are we supposed to do, Andrew? Are we supposed to keep voting Republican as they send our sons and daughters off to die?
What you do, we already did what we could do. We tried to primary out the ones that we didn't like.
Well, we complained and it didn't work, so now we just go along with it. Sorry, what? I guess that's a way to do things. Which president was a communist, though? I assume they mean like Joe Biden or Obama.
And it was Trump's nominees who got in there. That's what actually happened when it was left up to the electorate. The problem that you have, man, is that you're going to yield a ton of power. A ton of power.
You've already
to the
yielded
lunatics who have ever existed.
You gave it away to the Likud party. You gave it to Netanyahu with your support.
Oh yeah, I gave it away because I voted for the same guy.
It's two devils, man. It's two demons.
Yeah, so I guess you and I are both in the Israeli shills then because we both voted for Trump, huh?
Better get that 7,000. We'll see you after this break.
Yeah, you better get your 8.
Speaking of breaks, I need to also take a break. I wish I had the little like rolling clip thing ready, but I don't yet. I have the memes, but they're very short. Like, see? Stop. Very short. But I do need to take a quick break and drink some water and stuff and use the restroom. So I will be back in about, I guess, five-ish minutes. All right. Let us resume. Looks like we're pretty much through half of it. It's right about the half point. So I think we'll be able to finish tonight. I do kind of want to, just finish up so it's done. I'm sort of a completionist. Where's my wee wee compilation? I don't think we can have a wee wee compilation because I've only said that a few times. And now you've added to it, so there you go. There must be a plot to add to the wee wee compilation so that there actually is one. Actually, they were so communist that the far left didn't like them either. That is a good point. But that is probably what he's referring to. It's probably like Obama or Biden or something. To the right, anybody who's to the left of them is a communist. Similarly to how to a lot of leftists, anybody to the right of them is like a fascist. It's a common thing that people on the far ends of both sort of political entities call people that are towards the center or further of the opposite affiliation. There's a reason there's a civil war going on the left as well. They don't want socialism, subversion either, like Andrew keeps claiming. I could see that. I could see that happening. And it's good that at least, they're trying to weed out the more extreme elements of their party while I think Republicans seem to embrace them, which is not like as a rule, but so far I have seen both parties having internal civil war, but I haven't seen the Republicans really, at least in my opinion, the ones that are the ones that have the power seem to be the more extreme ones as far as war is concerned and as far as like America Last and all that stuff. So that is kind of interesting difference there.
Hi, fellow. This segment, I want to talk to you about the Epstein apologetics, but I don't want to leave it hanging there. Reviewing what we just said, I'll give you the floor.
Well, I mean, it's fine for us to get into a different topic. I understand that debates get heated. I never take it personally. I never have. We have different positions and we have different ideologies, but I'll just...
He always says that, but then he goes on Twitter and starts crying about things and, attacking the opposition in, all kinds of personal and cringe and like bratty ways. So it's kind of a nice sentiment, but if he meant it, I think it would go further.
Leave it at no, I've never been an Iran war supporter. I do think that the right wing are the by far better governing candidates and better governing force than Democrats. I don't think Democrats are going to save us, nor do I even think that they would stop any wars that were going on. I don't believe it for a second.
All right. I just don't believe the right wing is in charge. Like you say, this is the issue that I have. We can point to the Democrats. You can point at the radical Marxist, socialist, communist agenda. You can say that is actually in charge. My issue is the Democrats think that they're right. The Republicans know that they're wrong, and they lie to their electorate. How do we hold them accountable?
Well, both parties ultimately lie often to their electorate. The thing is that the one thing you can't get around is that politics is a team sport. In order to legislate, you have to have X amount of votes. And that's not just to get into office. That's for when you are in office. Democrats understand and know this. They will vote along party lines without defectors. Even the communists will get together with the progressives in order to do this because they understand maintaining power is central, right?
It's interesting he says that because Fee Welcome just said there's a civil war going on the left as well. They don't want socialism subversion either. It's interesting you just said that. Just
have what is called suicidal principles. It's like, look, you can if you want to. If you want to say, look, I'm so principled that I just refuse to even go and vote at all. That's great. But I don't know what the hell that does for anybody. And I don't know what putting Democrats...
And again, I think my idea is better where we all get together and vote for libertarians, accepting that they probably won't win, but it sends a stronger message than just not voting.
In office, if you really thought that was going to void World War III, why you wouldn't tell people to go vote for them en masse? Like, why wouldn't you...
I think we should vote for libertarians en masse, but I'll stop repeating myself. I never take it personally, but as soon as we disconnect the call, I'm going to deep sigh, rub my head performatively, and call you an R word. I knew I said I would start like saying the words out loud more, but I think that's one of those that really like YouTube is gonna just like cut the stream or something because I've heard people. There's some that are like slurs, and I think that they can unfortunately consider that one of them that I can't read. But serious topics I'm working on trying to say the real words for. I really wish we could say this word. I really wish we could, because I don't like, kind of a short tangent on that. I think whatever word that people start using as like an alternative, so like one word becomes offensive and then they start using a different word to describe this group of people that isn't offensive, that's like a new word, and then eventually the people will just start using that new word as a way to, as like a slang term for, you know, describing people who are stupid or whatever, and then they'll have to come up with a new term. So every time they will have to keep coming up with a new term, because whatever new term they come up with gets absorbed as like the street term, like the slang. So I think it's a losing fight, and we should just let people use it the way they do. And it's one of those things that people don't generally like use it as a slur against people who really do fall in that category. So I wish that we could sort of accept that people, it's same as like the other slur, like the F slur. People don't usually use that against people who really do belong to that group of people. People usually use it for people who don't, and it's understood as like a funny thing. And I just wish people would not take that so seriously, and only really, you know, genuinely get upset when it's used against people who are vulnerable or whatever, and that really would be affected by that, instead of just using that as regular language. I don't know. I have a whole thing about that, and oh, don't be sorry. I'm just explaining why I won't read that specific one, but it's okay. I understand. It wasn't directed for you to change anything. It's just why I'm not reading that particular one. I wish I could
do that.
Because you propose it as an absolute, and I'm not proposing it as that. I'm saying 2026 specifically, I'm not showing up to the polls because the peace president lied and took me to war. 2028, I plan to be very involved.
But you're just punishing yourself. You're setting your feet on fire to warm up your hands. You're like, look, because what you do is you get rid of your legislative authority and you give it to...
He doesn't have legislative authority now. Everybody who's in power, whether Republican or Democrat, isn't doing what he wants them to do.
Progressive lunatics, and they will obstruct all legislation that you...
They will also obstruct the bad parts, and the only parts that are really happening are the bad parts. So they get to obstruct the bad stuff. Good.
You do want. That's all that they will do for 2 straight years. Blame that on Republicans to usher in their candidates, and they will get them in. They will be in charge, and we are going to be in a world of hurt. That is how this works politically. We
are currently in a world of hurt, so I don't see a difference.
Why do you think they're beating this as a wedge issue so hard? They love it. It's their favorite thing on planet Earth.
Well, they were given it.
They beat it to death.
They were given it by the
party. I agree that this was a Trump blunder. I get it, and I understand that that's now a talking point which can be used by Democrats and progressives.
Blunder implies...
Not everything is about Democrats and progressives and leftists. Like, he's so hyper-focused. Like, he basically said in that little, like, sob story video earlier about how it's, like, his mission to destroy the left or whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. There's always going to be, like, leftists. There's always going to be right-wingers. There's always going to be people that disagree, that lean one way or another, and to like get rid of them, that's not realistic. I think it would work better if we would both learn to compromise a little better and unite to get the things done that we all really care about, and at least like basic stuff. Peace, economy. Can we just focus on those two? And I think the rest will fall into place.
Accident. This was very deliberate. Another nation took us to war, Andrew.
Well, no, blunder doesn't imply accident. It implies that you did something that you weren't supposed to. It was stupid what he did. Yes, I agree. It was on purpose. I agree that he worked in tandem with Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, in order to do this. The only defense that I'll even give to Trump is that I do believe that he thought that this would be over very quickly.
Maybe, but like, who cares? This is happening now, and it needs to not happen, and he's still doing it for whatever reason. And also, like, I also said this before, like, oh, I thought, he thought it would be over. He probably didn't think it was going to stretch this long, but like, okay, so he's stupid then? Because like, obviously this kind of thing would keep stretching out. So either he's stupid, or maybe he didn't think that. Maybe he knew it was going to stretch out, and he thought he was just so smart that he would find a way to stop it whenever he wanted. And now that he's finding out that's not the case, maybe he was just too prideful and not so smart after all. If he focuses his arguments around tribalism, he'll never have to confront the issues at hand. I agree. Strawman arguments are his forte. That's so funny because I will get called by like Wilson supporters in my comments. They're usually like, "Oh, all of that is strawman," even though they don't specifically point at a specific one and explain how it's strawman. They'll just say like they'll just blanket term like all your arguments are strawman. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just like you saying strawman brought it up. And since we're discussing Wilson here, his supporters will basically blanket term that, and that's something that I've seen him do as well. He's like, "Oh, that's all strawman," without specifying how or why or what exactly is the strawman. And then they'll also be like, "Oh, that's out of context. You're clipping out of context." And every time that I do clips of Wilson that I react to or criticize or critique in any way, I will make sure I include, like, without, obviously, you can't include the whole video. You have to cut somewhere, and it has to be short enough for it to be digestible. But I will include everything that is, like, I won't trim anything out in a way that if you had the fuller context, it would be like a different read. Like I purposely do my best to cut things in a way that I take like the full relevant thing. And if some other part of the message would like change the meaning of that little bit, I also include that. It just usually doesn't.
There's the other conflicts that he has.
So it's funny how like, again, nothing to do with you, Professor. It's just I saw this strawman thing and I was just thinking about that because I saw some messages again that are like, "Oh, it's all strawman. It's all strawman." How? Where? Why? What exactly? Like which ones? So I mean, it's.
Had been involved with were, like Venezuela, for instance. He had no reason to think that it would become this expanded.
It's just funny that like the king of strawman has like his minions accusing other people of like accusing him of strawman, and there's like a lot of nesting there. But yeah, Way Philosophy, welcome back. But I won't ever get along with Andy Willie Walker.
Conflict, but that's the only defense that I'll give to the guy, because many people in his administration told him that this was a bad idea.
Right. So you've changed your mind, and now you call it a war.
What do I change my mind on? Can you tell me what I changed my mind on?
7-week conflict, Andrew. 7-week conflict. That's what you said.
And how long had the conflict been going on at that time? For 7 weeks.
So when you kill the Pope, it's not a war. When you
So
kill
he
the Pope, it's
expected-
not a war. When you kill the Ayatollah, it's not a war.
So he expected it to end there. Like a 7-week conflict implies there's not going to be an 8th week.
It's not an act of war to you.
No, it's not always if you kill a foreign leader in an act of war. No.
Wow.
It's not.
You know,
It's not always. I don't know what to tell you. That is.
It's generally taken as an act of war. It doesn't always result in like boots on the ground war, but it's usually perceived as an act of war.
It's in fact the case, but
That's
this
not
has
real world, bro.
graduated.
Any other
this has
nation that kill a leader,
graduated.
they're at war.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it different for us?
That's not true. That's not true. Many nations have had leaders which have been assassinated, and that's been linked to other nations, and they didn't.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't always result in a hot war, but it's taken as like it's taken as a sign of like a declaration of war in a way. Strawman is one of the most used fallacies. I myself have used it just to piss someone off, says Professor Hoodoo. Andrew originally predicted this would all be wrapped up in 2 months tops. Yeah, he kept saying, "Oh, like they just said, oh, it's 7-week war." Well, that implies there won't be a next week if you call it a 7-week something. Otherwise, you could call it a 7+ week war. But that wasn't the case. So yeah, he keeps saying things that don't seem to be coming true, and then he's coping about it by, "Oh, I never said that."
Go to war.
But
Nor
it's
is
not
it
an
considered act
assassination
of
linked to
war.
another nation. It's a military.
Something else I've noticed about Wilson specifically is there's an awful lot of things that people point to, and they're like, "Hey, look what you said here," and he's like, "Well, I never said that. Here's some like weird roundabout explanation why it means something totally different than what everybody thinks it means," because like it seems like pretty straightforward stuff that he this applies to many different topics, but he will say like the cringiest, most awful stuff, and when he realizes that it's not playing well, he'll just be like, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way," or "That was just testing your logic," or "It was just internal critique," or "It was just this," or "It was just that," and he will come around and just find ways to explain how he's just so misunderstood. Maybe he's just a shitty communicator. Just. Maybe he's just super bad at communicating that people keep misunderstanding him so badly.
Strike. It's a bombing.
Yes, but that's not what's in dispute. What's in dispute here is whether or not at the time it appeared to be more of a conflict than it did a war.
But you don't think it's an act of war to kill the Ayatollah?
I think that you're splitting hairs.
How?
It's like, even if I was wrong, let's just say I was incorrect about it being a conflict. Let's just grant it. So what?
I also love this movie. Sorry, should we get on first? I also love this movie he does where he's like, when he can't keep arguing the point that he's trying to argue against, he'll act like he's just granting it. I'll just grant it. There it is, just again. Says Rick Nail too. They say you could also have the just emojis if you join as a member on YouTube. But yeah, that's another move where he's just like, just is really the word of the day, isn't it? When he goes like, oh well, it's oh, it's just this.
Both agree it's a war. Both of us. So if that's the case,
you don't agree that killing the Ayatollah is an act of war, which makes it look like, well, why are the Iranians fighting us? They seem to think they're at war with us.
Bro, what part of we both agree it's a war? Are we not? No,
because you denied. Your position at the beginning was wrong, and you knew better. You knew it was a war, and you said it wasn't one because you thought it could end quickly.
Okay, you know what? Just for the sake of getting the
again, he's doing it again. Oh, it's just this. It's just I'm just sort of saying it because just for the sake of argument, we'll just so we can move on. I'll just grant it. I'll just grant it to you, even though like he will only do that if he can't possibly defend it anymore. If he had other arguments that he could bring that he thought were strong, he would keep beating that dead horse until it was pulp. There is no way he would give up an argument that he thought was good for just the sake of things. Like the only time he ever does this, and this is like also one of the classic moves for Wilson, is when he doesn't have a leg to stand on, and then he'll be like, oh well, I'll just grant it. I'll just grant it for you. Like he's doing somebody else a favor, even though he's doing himself a favor by dropping that particular argument. Professor says, at my age, we have know-it-all friends just like Andrew who can never be wrong and have dozens of ways to shift the conversation once they are caught out. There's always a person like that, isn't there? Welcome said we need to start using actually and just more again. I know I kind of miss doing it, but I thought people might think it's annoying, so I kind of stopped like calling it out so much. But that I don't know. I kind of want to. I don't know. I'll think about it. Every time that I say it, I'm tempted to do the thing where I'm like just, but then I'm like, oh, that's gonna be cringe. People probably don't like that, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just in my head. Just really is the word of the day. There was once a handy Andy who was the son of a Willie who smoked cigarettes while calling others. I'm sorry, I can't read that on YouTube, but I do think it's funny. See, it's one of those that like YouTube would hate, but I think I wish we could just say it because it's funny. Just
conversation forward. Rex, I was wrong. It wasn't a conflict. It was actually war. What have we established? Anything?
Well, I mean, you're willing to write that off. We established you're willing to write anything and everything off that Trump does, even if he takes us to war because the Republican Party will save us.
I mean, you're just making stuff up. Except
then how do we hold them
accountable?
accountable?
Very adamant,
how do you hold them accountable for breaking with their promises?
That's a great question.
Yeah, so you can do political punishment, especially through acts of Congress. That's the best way to do it. Get them to defund things. They can pass legislation. They can restrain him. You can go to courts. There's a million different...
So they could like impeach him, like Rex was saying earlier? What about that?
Different ways to restrain the president.
Well, you're
There's a million different ways.
He seemed to be against impeaching him.
Restrain your parties in Congress, including lobbying your own NGOs, including lobbying your own lobbyists. There's a million different ways to restrain them.
But it's not like Congress is really... It's not like the Republicans in Congress are opposing the president. That's kind of the problem we're having. We don't have anything to oppose the bad. Like everything is just bad. There's nobody to call the bad out that's on the opposite side. They're all on the same side now, especially now that they got rid of Massey. Massey was probably the only one left, and Marjorie Taylor Greene too. She was decent. They at least were honest and at least like did what the people who voted them into office wanted them to do. Everybody else is just out for themselves. Just again, huh? All right, let's move on. See if we can finish this.
Your way to restrain him is let's vote in progressive lunatics. We're going to destroy the nation. That's not how you do this, bro. That's the opposite of how you want to do this.
All right, so you've got another position, which is pretty interesting, which is the Epstein position. And there's you, there's Michael Tracy, Gavin McGinnis, who I had on yesterday, also kind of holds to this. I don't know if you'd put it this way. This is what Gavin said, that Epstein's just a pervert. I want to get into this with you. I want to define what your position is on Epstein again, not trying to put words in your mouth. I want to hear what you have to say.
I'd love this answered because every time that he has debated this topic, I was super grossed out. So I don't expect this to be different, but...
Yeah, so I think... I think Tracy has most of this right, that you have to separate mythology from fact. So Epstein was a hyperpredator in Florida who was preying on essentially high school girls or younger. Pedophilia, most likely, right? So yeah, he was up to all sorts of like horrific things. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And Ghislaine Maxwell also was. But
I thought he literally argued with other people in debates about how he wasn't a pedophile.
The mythology aspect is the Zorro Ranch. They were eating kids. They had like child bakeries there. The mythology is the Lolita Express, that there was blackmail operations which were going on.
I don't think that's that out there, that Lolita Express thing.
And those blackmail operations were utilizing video in order to make sure that various political figures and things like this.
I don't think that's even really out there. I think there's, I don't know if it's even, it could even be that most people on both sides of the political aisles, or aisle, I guess, both sides of political aisle seem to sort of agree that that's probably what was going on. I see very few people that disagree with that don't think that was happening.
Could be blackmailed, essentially. So that's where the mythology aspect of it comes in. So as long as people separate mythos from what we know as fact, I don't really have a problem with it. I don't even have a problem with the idea of the mythology if it's the case that people have good evidence for why it is that they believe some of the things inside of the mythology.
Okay. So I just want to ask you right off the rip, is Epstein a pedophile, and was he involved in child trafficking?
Well, undoubtedly he was involved in child trafficking. The question is was he involved in child trafficking to himself, or was he involved in child trafficking to other people? That's where the question comes in.
Crew, can we get really quick? Crew, can we get the DOJ charges for Southern District of New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, punched up on the screen really quick? Andrew, continue.
I think this is the first time that he was arguing this stuff. This is exactly, this is one of the files that we brought up together, I think. Only sweepers disagree with it. Well, there are photos, right? There are probably videos too. Yeah, I mean, there are. And there's sweepers on both sides, unfortunately. Says feel welcomed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the other thing on the question of pedophilia, yeah, I mean, most likely. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if he, the way that I understand it, it's a mix between, you have pedophilia, and then hebephilia, and then, everything after that. Pedophilia is classified as prepubescent children, and then hebephilia is classified as, they're like possibly post-pubescent, but they're still underage. So I think that he falls into.
Okay. I have a note about this specific thing here, and that is not even true. So, hebephilia is, he said it's possibly post-pubescent but still underage. That's not the case. So this post-pubescent, that's not true. So hebephilia is early pubescent children, so like 11 to 14, and post-pubescent would be where they're like 15 to 19 is ephebophilia. So even when he's trying to say that Epstein was like a hebephile, he means to say post-pubescent. He's not even right about that. So I just even to begin with, I've stated this before every time this is discussed. I think splitting hairs like this about like which range of children he was attracted to is ridiculous. I think it's fine to call it pedophilia as a blanket category. I think that works fine for most people. I don't think trying to split hairs exactly like which age range and what exactly like what's, I sort of see like pedophilia as like a blanket term that most people use for like, okay, underage children. So I think trying to be like, oh, well, possibly hebephilia, but then not even that, but also being wrong about it is kind of, that's even like extra cringe. If you're going to try to split hairs, at least split them correctly. But that's too much to ask, isn't it?
Pedophilia category, but it wouldn't surprise me if he fell in the pedophile category as well.
All right, so there's underage hijinks going around. We can kind of just leave it at that.
And again, that's another thing that's different now, because he very like strongly argued that he was not a pedophile specifically. He was arguing about that they happened to be some underage prostitutes, is the words he used, which, like I said before, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. There's no such thing as an underage prostitute. That is called like molesting a child. There's no such thing. There's no children cannot consent, period. They cannot consent. You can't have a prostitute that's underage. That's just not a thing. Even using that as a word, I think, is disgusting on its own. And whether they were 17 or whether they were 10, like, sure, there's different levels to it, but it's disgusting no matter what. We don't have to split hairs. We can just blanket call it pedo stuff, and it's disgusting, and there's no such thing as an underage prostitute. So him consistently trying to like hedge this Epstein stuff as somehow being or making it at least appear less bad than it really was is absolutely disgusting. And something that's changed here, I guess he probably got enough flack for it, is now he's saying that, okay, it's possible that he was a pedophile, but he wasn't saying that before. He was very strongly arguing against. I'm not sure if Rex is going to catch that here, but that is something he very strongly argued against. He kept saying it was like, oh, they were all, teenagers, which apparently is what not that big of a deal, or what's the answer there? Anyway, this every time he has this conversation, it's gross, and at least he's admitting that there's the pedo part possibly in there now, which is at least better than before, but still.
So he's
1,000%.
Yeah. So he's on record, or just Lane's on record, because she's spending 20 years in jail for conspiring to and committing child trafficking with and for Jeffrey Epstein. Like, those are the charges. So for me,
to Jeffrey Epstein.
When I hear that somebody like Michael Tracy come out there and say, oh, there's no evidence of this, this is a satanic panic, basically, I look at the redactions and I say, well, if there are all these redactions for all these quote unquote victims, who is being protected and what's being hidden in your view?
Well, a lot of the redactions are coming out of victim advocacy groups, various lawsuits that are happening, and those are done through the court, which is separate actually from what Trump's powers are for redaction.
Okay, even if that was true, most of them are being redacted by the DOJ, and most of them are, when they redact stuff that then they shouldn't redact, they have a tendency to redact too much of what they shouldn't and too little of what they should be. So they keep leaving things that are like victim information unredacted, and they keep redacting things that are not possibly. They do redact other co-conspirators, at least other alleged co-conspirators and other, how do I put this? The other people that they investigated as possible co-conspirators, they have been redacting those things, even though they weren't supposed to. So him being like, oh, it's just the victims want it. It's no, I mean, that's sure. The victims want their own stuff rightfully redacted, and that is what they're supposed to be doing. But that's not the majority of the redactions that people are complaining about. People are complaining about things that are redacted that are hiding potential co-conspirators. So that this is yet another misrepresentation of this case in a way that is making it seem like it's less bad, and I don't understand why he keeps doing this. Like, what can he gain by trying to make Epstein seem less bad? I don't understand this. Even with like all of his other awful arguments and positions and the war thing, of all things, you would at least expect him to agree on the Epstein stuff with all the normal people. I don't understand why argue about this. I don't understand it. I thought, like, of all things, at least on this we could agree. At least on this. Where are all the missing kids, says Professor Hoodoo. Rick Nell, I zoned out for a bit. Where has this conversation gone with it? Yeah, it's not in a good place. If you welcome said, Wilson would probably just set up a hypothetical, like, what if we collectively decide it was okay? Now, I'm not saying it's right. It's just an internal critique to this. Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised at all. Oh, sorry, I read the wrong one. I didn't highlight this one, right? My bad. But this was the one. Legal age of consent varies by state. Some are 16. Canada is much younger outside Vancouver. This is a dumb topic. Says Way Philosophy. Says what right? Says Rick no. If you welcome though, I know this MF like the back of my head at this point, unfortunately. Way Philosophy, to clarify, dumb topic for Wilson. Not you. Oh, thank you. I mean, I was like, he probably means the for considering like the other messages you have put forward. try to give you the benefit of the doubt for things like that. But yeah, that makes more sense. It's possible that Andrew believes that a girl who has already started her period is already a woman, which is why he makes that distinction. If that's the case, that's absolutely disgusting. But I guess you could literally try to bring it back to like the biblical times and excuse it that way. There's all kinds of ways that people excuse, you know, sick things like that by using religion in ways that they shouldn't, and other like historical information to try to hedge things like that too. So I don't know if that's something he's done, but I wouldn't be that surprised considering everything else he said. Professor Hoodoo says there are dozens of victims that say it wasn't just Epstein. What about them? That is a great point as well. There is information out there pointing at co-conspirators, so him saying, oh, it's just trafficking them to himself is, I mean, I'm not saying he's alone in thinking that, but he's certainly not the majority. Not that being the majority necessarily makes the rest of us right, but it's such an unpopular opinion that I don't understand why he's doing that. I don't. It's not only like stupid, it doesn't make sense. It's not winning him favors. Like, he's losing audience over it. So why continue to hold on to it?
And even congressional power. A lot of that comes out of the courts. Tracy has some pretty good segments on this, on how the victims advocacy groups push for these redactions through courtrooms. And I kind of understand why, because if you take what happened, for instance, with Ro Khanna, when Ro Khanna doxed those various people who were on the list, and then it turns out that they weren't even involved in any pedophilia at all. It's like there's a reason why there's a lot of those redactions which are there. We have the Epstein.
I don't know if that's exactly as he described it. That was a while ago, so I don't have that top of mind at the moment when that was happening. If I remember correctly, there was possibly some involvement with some of them, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's exactly how he's saying it happened.
Transparency Act, and they've been going back and forth on this based around the idea of the video. And
but regardless of how that went, the courts ordered everything to be released except for the victim stuff, and that wasn't victim stuff, so it should not have been redacted. Regardless of what the fallout was, it's not up to the DOJ to be like, oh, well, this person could have negative consequences. That's not up to them. The courts decided one thing, and they should have done what the courts decided. That says could be biologically mature enough to have children, not emotionally, but if you're going to be a trad mother of 7-8 children, better start early having them. That is something that I have heard him say. I have heard him say that it's better, like if you're an older man, it's better to marry young. That way you can have more kids. Because if you marry somebody that's a little older, you can have less children. And I don't think that when he said that, he specified how young exactly. But I think the youngest I've heard him say was like 17, 18, which 17 is kind of gross enough as it is. But I think if he did think earlier, he probably didn't say it out loud, so we don't know. But that would, fit with other things he said. But I haven't heard him say specifically that. Just to be exact here.
The redactions. So I would love to see it all. And this is Tracy's position too, which is interesting. He would prefer to see it all redacted and released, and so would I. I just understand why it isn't.
And that's because the courts did it, in your view?
Most of it, yes. Most of the redactions come from courts, from victim advocacy groups, and from various lawsuits, and from people who want to protect their identity, who might.
I've already harped on this point enough. I don't need to repeat myself, but I think you get where I'm coming from.
To be named in the Epstein files, but they themselves did nothing wrong.
Okay, so we kind of made, or you made, the pedophilia, I believe hebophilia, or whatever it's called, distinction earlier before. Pam Bondi
one's pre-pubescent, one's post-pubescent.
All right, so I think to most people that really doesn't matter. Like,
again, he's wrong about the wording, but yeah, it's stupid. So again, splitting hairs like that doesn't. I don't think it's helpful, and to also be wrong about it is extra unhelpful. He plays it safe. He usually hedges it to be early 20s on the whatever podcast. Anyway, I think I've heard him say as young as 17, but it was like a quick, like offhand thing. I don't think he thought it through all the way when he said it.
If it's under 18, it's a crime, and then someone that's that old shouldn't.
I agree, it's a
it.
crime.
Yeah. So when you look at Epstein and you look at the redactions, it's not just the redactions; it's the 3 million unreleased files. What do you say about that?
Yeah, so most
I'll have to find those clips. So if someone's interested in those clips, let me know and I'll find them later.
of that, again, this is the research that I've read, and I've looked at both ends of it. So Pam Bondi said that most of the redactions on video, for instance, came from the fact that this was mostly Epstein's porn, and that had been investigated. And it's true that they did age play pornography, but even a lot of the pictures which were leaked out.
Again, why try to explain this away? Like, we know he was doing illegal stuff with underage children. I don't know why. Like, there is court documents where they name victims as young as 14. And if he went as young as 14, I don't see why he wouldn't have gone younger too. And 14 is also, like, even if he didn't go younger, that's still disturbing enough that on its own. So why try to, like, explain it away with this, like, oh, well, they could have just looked younger. Like, what is this? What is this?
Where it appeared like it was a young girl. Like perverts on the internet were like, no, I saw that porn. It's this one. And you'll see that on X. They're like,
okay, now he's accusing people that are concerned of being perverts.
nope, that's actually just age play pornography, this type of thing. So he had a pretty staunch porn file. And then
or did I misunderstand? Did he say that there are perverts online that have seen that and they, like, pointed it out as like, oh, I've seen, that uncensored online or something. But how would they know for a fact that, like, that person wasn't younger than 18? I don't see how they could possibly know that for a fact unless they, like, checked IDs, which they clearly haven't done. Just because something is online doesn't mean it's legal. There are plenty of things online that are probably not legal.
As far as the other files that haven't come out,
a lot of things, like, I don't know exactly how uploading that kind of stuff works, but I'm sure that some things they don't even, like, check, and other things, if they do ask, it's like probably a checkbox or something, like, oh, do you confirm that everybody here is over, like, everybody in this content is over 18, or what's stopping people from just, like, checking the box? Again, I don't know how this works, but I presume it's something like that, because otherwise, like, I just don't see there being, like, a whole process or system set up around, like, IDing everybody in the video. Like, I just don't, like, as a software developer, I don't see that something like that existing, and neither do I really support it. I don't really support the ID situation for, like, oh, you have to use ID to go on certain websites and things like that, because privacy reasons. And I think parents should keep their kids off of it. And if people are putting something illegal on there, they should just have the cops come for them. We shouldn't have to pay for, like, the rest of us shouldn't have to pay with our privacy for things that some people do wrong. Like, if people are doing illegal stuff, put them in jail. Like, we don't need to start, like, IDing everybody for, like, every little thing. But that's a whole separate topic, and it's my opinion, and it's not related to the topic. So we can move on from that specific part.
Understanding is that those fall under the same category. They're, like, unnecessary files to send out, or they're protected by victim advocacy groups, this kind of thing.
Do you believe?
This is my understanding of it.
No,
it's a shitty understanding, because, again, most of it, I already explained. I don't need to repeat it. Sorry, we'll get through this. We'll get through this.
I get it. Do you believe he was an international sex trafficker?
I don't think that there's evidence to support that Epstein was involved in international sex blackmail operations. There seems to be a lot of evidence that he was at least tied to intelligence agencies, which doesn't surprise me because he was a banker for Rothschild. And
that's another thing that apparently is not correct. In my notes here, I have that Epstein was at Bear Stearns as a limited partner, then ran his own firms, and that there wasn't Rothschild employment on his record. So it's he's trying to grant, like, the links to intelligence, but denies the blackmail part, and then he says that he was a banker for Rothschild. This is all over the place.
He was an investment banker for other large banking operations. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if he had intelligence links. Most of these guys seem to. But I haven't seen any good compelling evidence that this guy was flying children around the world for other people to have sex with and then blackmail them. And that's where the mythology part comes in.
So you completely disregard all uses of coded language?
No.
No? You don't, well, pizza, cheese holders, grape soda, hot dogs, things like this. I eat the beef jerky or else the demons come for me, the shadows come around me.
The problem is like, it just doesn't demonstrate what it is you're trying to demonstrate. It is, in fact, the case. It's awful suspicious. I agree with you. The idea of coded language always is. But do you remember the Pizzagate? And
again, this is the same direction that Owen Schroyer went. And I think I'm going to say now what I said back then. I don't think the coded language is the strongest point that we have for this. I think the strongest point we have was his history of dealing with legal issues from what he was doing to children, and we have them redacting people that they shouldn't have been redacting, and them specifically redacting some documents that specifically mention co-conspirators and victims coming out. I think was it Professor Hoodoo or Naz? Somebody in the chat earlier mentioned that there were victims that were coming out and alleging that they were assaulted by these other people. So we have other things to lean on besides coded language that I think would be stronger here. And I'm not sure why they don't use it, but I don't know. And Pam Bondi doesn't have a vested interest at all. Yeah, isn't she getting fired too? Or has she already been fired? Or stepped down or whatever it is that she's got going on. When in doubt, appeal to authority. Of course, why not? Brandon! Nice to see you. Welcome back. Mifa was a ginger and a crazy person son of this one here. We have a bold emoji. I don't know if anybody is around that has I don't know if I think Rick Nell was the last person I saw that had a membership on YouTube if they want to demonstrate, but we do have a bold emoji. Oops. Was Andrew in the military or not? That's a great question. I've seen some things that say he was and some things that say he wasn't, and nobody knows. Fiolcom says he was, but I don't believe he completed his service. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard specifically a clear answer one way or another. I wonder if like something happened and maybe there's something to hide. Like maybe that's why we don't get a clear answer. But I don't know.
The stuff that happened around that was all based around coded language, and it was all nonsense. There was no actual child trafficking going on.
I don't know that was all nonsense. The Podesta emails are not a part of Comet Pizza, and that was also a part of Pizzagate. So you're going to conflate two things here.
Well, no, I'm not. The Podesta emails and spirit cooking had to do with some lunatic's art project, and that was conflated and tied in to the fact that Podesta was diddling kids, and then that was tied into Pizzagate. It's like,
but if it's
most
just
of that wasn't true.
If it's just a lunatic's art project, then why are the most powerful people involved in it, and why are they involved with pedophiles? Like
for the same reason most elites get involved in art, because it's a massive racket worth billions of dollars, and they hide their money through it. So billionaires have been doing that for years and years and years.
I mean, they can get involved in art that's not like that. Like they could still launder money through artwork that isn't like that. Like some pretty trees or something, you can equally launder. Like that's the thing about artwork, is it's all about like subjective opinions and perspective. Like something that looks like garbage to one person, they could be like, oh, that's worth $100 million. And it's like a little pretty tree with like a smiling sunshine that a 5-year-old did. So they could use art like that. I don't see why it has to be art like this specifically. Again, I'm not saying that this art necessarily proves anything, but I think that just waving it off as just like, oh, well, that's, art and they do it to launder money. Again, they could do pretty trees instead and still launder money just the same. Rick now. See, there we go. We got some bold emojis. We're generally pro bold over here. I've heard him say yes and no. Oh, to the military thing. He's pretty dodgy about what exactly happened with this discharge, says Few Welcomed. Streamlabs says, like the stream. Listen to Streamlabs. Naz says, I don't remember which house, if it was Podesta's. It has disturbing art involving children. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. I'm not aware of the details of that.
Really think that they're buying a painting that was made from somebody for $50 million?
Go back to that in the slideshow. Do you think this is a part of art scam? Where they got, the fat guy like raping the silhouette of the little kid on the bed? Is that a part of art?
Yeah, that language. It wouldn't surprise me if Podesta was a total absolute scumbag of the tallest order. The problem that you have is you have to separate mythology and weirdness and grossness and sickness from reality. The reality is there was never, ever at Rocket Pizza a basement where kids were getting tortured and they were being SA'd. That's just not true. Factually, it's not true. And you can be
I think generally where there's smoke, there tends to be fire. So if this kind of stuff is the stuff that's public, what are they keeping private? That's my question. I wonder if you'll think I'm bold at this point, says Rick. Oh, we did have people assuming that you were okay.
upset about it all you want, but that is in fact the case. Right now, factually, you don't have evidence that Epstein was flying children around the world as part of blackmail operations. You don't have the evidence for it.
We have
Now,
evidence.
You can have great suspicions.
We have evidence that he trafficked children. We have evidence that he did it with Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in jail for 20 years. To himself with Ghislaine.
To himself, right? Exactly.
All right, so if he trafficked children to himself and he's...
There's only... I can't find a way to say this that's not disgusting, but there's like only so many that you can... I don't even... This is so gross. I have a hard time even like trying to phrase this. There's only so many that you can possibly take for yourself, if that makes sense. And it seemed like there was quite a few. So, and I'm not saying the number itself is evidence, but I'm saying like there's everything else plus that. It seems like a pretty large operation for something that was a personal project for his own pleasure. Rick Nell says he has long hair. What? I need a long hair emoji now. Look, it looks like Andrew Tate the emoji. Oh, does it? I didn't intend that. We made the bald man look cool, so we might have to make him look less like Andrew Tate now. There are dozens of witnesses. Yeah, I mean, to say that it was just to himself is kind of stupid at this point.
This billionaire with all these insane connections, wouldn't it not be a crazy leap of logic to assume he's doing this with other people if him and Ghislaine were doing it?
No, of course not. It wouldn't be a great leap of logic, but there's just not any good evidence there to support it. That's the problem that you have. That's why you have...
I mean, what do you want? Videos? Apparently there were some, but the freaking feds like disappeared them. And that's not even an out there conspiracy theory. Like it's documented that there was stuff there and then it was gone.
To be very cautious because you can build up huge mythologies around what is...
I bet they were just storing, I don't know, cooking show, DVR tapes of recipes.
It's called, logic gaps, or
that they really wanted to keep secret from other people for their, pizza place to, bake pizzas from special family recipes, specific ratios of flour and stuff they wanted to keep hidden.
Evidence of the gaps, meaning, look, I don't actually know, but my speculation becomes the logic, and then I can make these logical leaps based on my speculation. Now we get...
He does that all the time in debates. What's wrong with him doing this now? Not that I think it really translates, but...
Get into these are truth claims, and it's like, you can't make those truth claims because they're not true. You have to at least have the evidence to back up the truth.
Wouldn't it not be a crazy leap of logic to assume he's doing this with other people if him and Ghislaine were doing it?
No, of course. Really weird. This needs to be followed up on. We want more answers to this. I think that would be fine. But this has transcended that. And it is, in fact, the case that there is a psychosis which is happening in the United States around this, where people now believe that at the top levels of government, we have people who are eating children, that they're eating their pineal glands, that they're eating their sexual organs, that they're killing them and murdering them, and they're essaying them. And it's like, that's a hell...
Okay, a lot of those things seem pretty out there, but lumping them all in together seems like you're trying to excuse some of it or minimize at least some of it. And I think the last one, unfortunately, is sort of common for messed up rich people to do, unfortunately. And we shouldn't accept it. We should fight against it. And calling it out as like all the same as like, oh, they're, eating their pineal glands and stuff. Putting it all in the same bucket basically turns a blind eye to real problems that are happening to the most vulnerable of us. And that's sick. I find that sick. Fee Welcome says, nothing wrong with bold solidarity. See, there we go. Only 2% of the files were revealed and much of that redacted, says Professor. Yeah, I mean, to say like, oh, there's no evidence when we hardly ever saw any of it, like so confidently, is not very smart. Or maybe it's not an intelligence thing as far as like, him having any. Maybe there are other kind of intelligence situation going on here. I don't know. Like something that relates to glowing. I don't know. I don't know for a fact, but it's certainly very shady. Fuelcom says, evidence of the gaps, not to be confused with God of the gaps. That would be ridiculous. Crazy, right?
Of a thing to say without good, compelling proof, man.
I take that point. I can take that point. I can understand it. The problem is, though, he's on record as a child trafficker. He's a billionaire. He has these connections. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. I don't believe that.
But that works against you, too. That's the same argument I can make back. It's like, yeah, you're right. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. But the problem is that you making the affirmative claim, there's an absence of evidence, and therefore that's the evidence, is the same argument. That's not evidence.
It is a bit odd that the people that promised to expose everything and in the wars started the wars and exposed nothing, and they say, well, we had to do the war and then we had nothing to expose because it's all fake. I guess we're supposed to just trust them?
Well, no, nobody's asking you to trust them. I think, again, just like Tracy's position, I would love to see all of these files unredacted and released. But you have victims who don't want that to happen.
That's not true. Most victims do want the files released. They only want the victim information redacted, which is what the judges ordered in the first place. And for some reason, it's not happening. They're redacting more than they're supposed to. And yeah, most victims do want this stuff released and the proper things unredacted. Oops, I did it. I accidentally see. Oh, darn it.
And they're not, a lot of it has more when they were skeptical of their own claims.
I have to figure out how to keep it from doing that.
I think, again, just like Tracy's position, I would love to see all of these files unredacted and released. But you have victims who don't want that to happen. They don't want it to happen. And take, for instance, a lot of these victims don't have very much credibility to begin with. And they're
okay, sure. I'm sure there's a handful that don't, but there's plenty that do. So let me guess. This is going to be a painting them with a broad brush again and discrediting them. He really, to be on that side of the argument in this case is so icky. I don't even know what else to say.
Not a lot of it has to do with money, has to do with various victim funds that they had access to. It became a multi-million-dollar industry to be an Epstein victim. So it's like, look, you have also evidence to question that narrative. And it's like, look, I love skeptics. Exactly. I just used to love them a lot more when they were skeptical of their own claims too, their own side's claims. Like, be skeptical of both. It's fine to be like, look, I want government to be more transparent. I want them to release all the unredacted files. I want to know what happened. But you also need to be skeptical of your own claims and be like, I actually don't know. And you shouldn't make bold claims that at the highest level of government, children are getting eaten and molested and raped by high-level government officials, and it's being covered up. We don't have evidence for that, man. Now, if you...
I haven't heard him claim that in this debate. It's possible he has during some other time, but in this particular debate, I haven't heard him claim that.
Want to say Epstein trafficked kids to himself? I agree. 100% that happened. But you lack the evidence to show that he was trafficking children to other people as part of massive intelligence blackmail operations. I myself believe that narrative. I believed it myself until I...
Oh, first it was he's not trafficking to other people at all, and now it's trafficking to other people as this massive blackmail intelligence operation. Okay, so now it has to be all of those things too. So first it was just, oh, he's trafficking to himself, and he's definitely not trafficking to other people. But now it's like, even if he's trafficking to other people, it also has to be part of this like massive conspiracy, or else it doesn't count. Do you see this like goalpost moving?
Went looked into it and read a lot of Tracy's research, and his research is quite good.
All right.
Is this oh, okay. This is last time he called out this Tracy, was it Tracy Michael or Tracy something? Last time he brought up the same person, and I don't want to repeat myself too much because he mostly the same arguments he did last time. So if you want to hear that, go to the previous one that we previous debate that this topic was discussed, and this Tracy whatever is basically in the same camp as defending Epstein, and I don't see how you could I could never associate myself on like with that view and praise another person that's very strongly trying to minimize all this stuff. I can only say it's icky so many times. Michael Tracy, thank you if you welcomed Michael Tracy. No, Andrew just forces you to take on the most extreme version of the position even if you don't agree with it, hence the socialism blanket. That's also accurate.
Andrew, we disagree on this. I think we'll probably do another stream in the future as facts coincide. Thank you for your time. The Crucible.
Yeah, I wonder what he's going to change his mind on by next debate. So this is what, round 2. So between round 1 and round 2, he's moved on the Iran point a bit. He's moved on, was Epstein a pedophile a bit? What was the other one? I thought there was something else. But it seems like he is moving. Like if the pattern holds, every time they have a debate, Rex is gonna win like more and more points. Eventually, Andrew will just have to concede. I'm just kidding. He would never do that. even no matter how poorly Andrew Wilson does, I don't think he will ever concede a debate. No matter how obvious it is that he's wrong, he will never admit it. And there will always be people that will be like, "Oh wow, see, he's confident. He says he won. That means that he won. That means he's right." There will always be people like that, and that's so sad. Anyway, it is getting quite late. If anybody is inclined, there is a tips link in the pin to the chat and in the description. If I don't see it right away, I will see it before next stream. And yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. I appreciate everybody's time. It's nice. I thought this would take much longer than it did, but we've been going for 3.5 hours or so. So yeah, it's a decent stream, I guess. But again, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Professor says he'll try this on Candace. He says something and attributes it to others, and later he lets us. Yep, exactly. Common pattern. See you guys. Alrighty. Thank you. It's been 3.5 hours. Yep, that is crazy indeed. All right, don't link in the chat. I will see you Friday for the Candace stream. that would be pretty nice, huh? But no, she deserves all of the money for hosting and dealing with this nonsense and everything. But I mean, I would take it. But I don't think I deserve it. Oh, Friday. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. See you Friday.